Mike Missanelli Show on the air. What happened last night? Well, a must-loss situation for the Sixers, and they complied. And now they're in that fifth worst spot, so it looks good that they're not going to get into playoffs, but also maybe get a chance for the number one pick. Meanwhile, the Flyers take the heat. But the big news is always the Eagles, and the Eagles make a signing yesterday with a backup running back, A.J. Dillon. A lot of people like it. Game well gone. They bring in another guy, more of a power back. Had a good year a couple years ago, has a neck situation, which is not really good. But it's a really interesting conversation with the Eagles right now on how Eagle fans feel about how they're going to be. Now, they shed some players. And there are a lot of people around the NFL that go, well, you know what, you can't keep these players. That's the reality of the NFL. But they're certainly not going to be the same team that they were last year. And then there are other people that say, what are you talking about? We got God as our general manager. Howie Roseman. He has built this team. He knows what he's doing. He's got tricks up his sleeve. We're going to be fine. We're going to be a contender. Now, I don't know. I'll look at it when I actually see it. But it does seem that there is some blind faith in Howie Roseman. It's funny because when you looked at the trade of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, the original reaction, I think, the majority reaction from Eagle fans is, what are you doing? And then a little bit later, they start to go, well, hey, it's Howie. He knows what he's doing. They're not going to even skip a beat. They're going to fill in that position admirably. They got Sidney Jones there. They probably got a draft pick up their sleeve. There's probably some guy they want to sign down the road. It's blind faith in Howie Roseman. And when you look at the free agent signings that Howie has made, I don't know. We got Bill Colarulo here, and guess who's back? Ray Don back in the saddle. So I'll ask both of you fellas. First of all, Bill, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, Ray.
Hey, how are you?
Excited to have Ray back.
Ray's back. So let's look at this particular situation here. Bill, you evaluate Howie Roseman now, and he showed his hand what they're going to do. They shed some players, and the notion is that they're going to be fine, that he's going to replace it. He's got a trick up his sleeve. He's the great Howie. They're all knowing. But when you look at the free agent signings, they haven't been that spectacular. So how do you feel right now? Where should the Eagle fan base be, and where do you think they are?
I think a majority of the fan base is the blind faith fan who says, oh, it's Howie Roseman. They'll figure it out. But I think where fans should be is more of that cautiously optimistic view of this football team. They've lost a lot of players. And even though it was anticipated, it doesn't make it any easier to replace these guys. But the reason I say I would lean more towards the optimism than to be the pessimist is because of the quarterback situation. And I mentioned to you off air, I think when you look at any football team in the NFL, the first question I always ask is, do they have a quarterback that could lead them to a Super Bowl victory? And I think if you look up and down the NFC, there are only a handful of teams that have a quarterback that I would put in the Super Bowl caliber type of quarterback. And clearly, because Jalen Hurts just did it, he's one of those quarterbacks. So even though the defense is going to take a step back, I think it's inevitable. You can't expect every single one of these younger guys to step up and replace the Milton Williams, the Josh Sweats, the Darius Slays, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. You're asking a lot. But at the end of the day, you have a quarterback and you have an offense that is clearly capable of winning you a Super Bowl. That's why I'm leaning more towards the optimism. But the people who keep waiting for Howie Roseman, oh, he's going to make a big move. He's going to do something. I don't know if that's the case because of there is a salary cap. We always say salary cap doesn't exist with Howie Roseman. Well, clearly it does, and that's why they're making some of the decisions they've made.
So I said yesterday, does Howie slyly, he puts his head on a pillow, go, yeah, guess what? This is a gap year. I got to get the cap in line. We can fudge all we want that we're this contender, but we did lose some players. The priority is to get the cap in line. I got a lot of decisions to be made on guys up the road. We got to just kind of stay in there. We don't have to be the contender this year. I have bought myself some leeway and some capital with the fan base. We just won a Super Bowl. People can't possibly be outraged if we're kind of in the hunt, but maybe we don't pull it off this year. I mean, does he have that safety pin with him?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I think the fan base isn't going to be as critical considering that they won the Super Bowl. But when I look at Howie Roseman and I hear him talk, I don't think he's the type of guy who says, yeah, we won, so we're okay. Like, I do think he's just as competitive and just as aggressive as the fans want him to be. I'm sure they want to repeat. I'm sure he wants to do everything in his power to repeat. But we keep talking about there's a lot of guys on this roster that still need to get paid, that still need new contracts. You know, Jordan Davis, they got to make a decision on. Cam Jurgens, they have to make a decision on. We know how much they like Reed Blankenship. He probably needs an extension. I don't think he has any guaranteed money left on his deal. And then when you're looking another offseason ahead, you got the Jalen Carters and the Nolan Smiths of the world. So I think it's up to Howie Roseman to always be 2 steps ahead, whereas fans sometimes we want immediate gratification. We want, oh, no, go get this guy. Go get Myles Garrett. Go get Trey Hendrickson. You can't necessarily do that even if you have the cap space this year because of what it means for next year and the year after.
All right, so give me your grade on A.J. Dillon and what they did to get the backup running back.
Well, the big thing with A.J. is his health. He missed all of last season with that neck injury. He had a neck stinger that bothered him. He was out all year. But that could also be a positive because if the neck's okay, you know he's got fresh legs. Mm-hmm. He's still relatively young. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. He's good in pass protection. And he's 250 pounds. Mm-hmm. So my initial reaction to it was, imagine being a defense, and now you're putting all your effort into trying to stop Saquon Barkley, and then when he goes out, waves his hand for the breather, all of a sudden you got 250-pound A.J. Dillon coming in. That's demoralizing, man. So I like the move because, yes, you have Will Shipley, but Saquon had close to 500 touches last year. When you include the playoffs and you include his receptions, you're going to need to rely on some other guys. So if A.J. Dillon is healthy, I like the move a lot. Young, he's got size. He's shown an ability to make some plays in Green Bay. I like it, but it's not this, some people I think overreact. Like I see fans going one way or the other, like this is the greatest move ever, and then I see people saying it's the next Rashad Penny. It's a backup running back. I think it's a good move.
And you got to, listen, you brought it up yesterday. Saquon Barkley has a lot of carries. You want to keep him away from all these carries because you never know when a running back will get banged up. Are you more secure that this guy would have to play a couple games if Saquon is injured than Kenneth Gainwell?
It's interesting. I mean, I was higher on Kenny Gainwell than I think a lot of people were. I liked Kenny Gainwell, but I think when you look at Will Shipley and Kenny Gainwell, similar sized back, similar skill sets. So I like the A.J. Dillon move because he's a bigger back that you're adding to that running back room. But I would think if Saquon had to miss some time, let's knock on wood that doesn't happen, I don't think A.J. Dillon would necessarily become that every down back. I think you'll have a mix between him and Will Shipley.
So you're kind of lukewarm on it.
Yeah, but I'm okay with it. They need a depth there.
Let's go to Ray Dunn. He hasn't been here in a long time. Like, what, 147 days we haven't seen Ray. Yeah, he's back today. Ray, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
You look different.
He looks tired. He looks tired.
Maybe.
No, you look different than what we remember you from 10 days ago.
That's probably true. Yeah, it's been a while.
Ray, I want to get your opinion on here. You've been studying this from afar, this salary cap situation and what they're doing. What is your overall opinion on how the fan base should feel right now?
Concerned? I'll be honest with you.
Are you concerned?
I'm a little bit concerned. Like, I think it's just from the fact of maybe I had some unrealistic expectations of what they were going to be able to do. I think the C.J. Gardner-Johnson trade was the one that was like, oh, that's what he meant by patience this offseason. If they're trying to shed money, I was big in the, hey, your window's right now. These young guys that you have to pay eventually, you have to pay eventually. Let's go all in for it right now. His long-term approach to me is not the way I anticipated this offseason going, and I thought the patience thing was more of a, oh, yeah, Sweat will be gone, Williams will be gone. Just be patient, we'll find the replacements. No, it kind of seems like he's reshaping a roster that we all said was the best one the Eagles have ever had. So I'm concerned that's not a back-to-back type situation.
I'm a little concerned myself, and I got to tell you as we go into the break, but I'm also concerned that this is a latent concern here. I'm not as optimistic about the Phillies as a lot of people are. And I was reading the story about throughout the league, the suggestions that maybe the Phillies have had that peak. And with this particular lineup, that's as far as they're going to go. I don't know. I got that queasy feeling all of a sudden, Billy boy.
Man. We need somebody to be optimistic about the Phillies. I actually may be more optimistic than you because of that rotation.
I know you like that rotation, but a rotation can get the little snags in it every now and then. 610-632-0975 is how you get into the show. It's a special Thursday show, the Mike Missanelli Show. Let's hear you on the phone. Let's hear you via text. We're back after this.
Tyrone Johnson.
There's no need to panic, but we
My point.
Get him out when he got the bloody lip.
But look at the players they're ending this season with. What can you imagine from the start of this season? Well, we broadcast the opening day of practice, where we are now. Can you have imagined that?
No. I don't think anybody could have. I mean, I know even you were down on some of the older veteran bench pieces, but there's no way that anybody could have predicted we'd be where we are right now.
Look at the start. I want you to add up the starting lineups minus and tell me what you get. Guy, get your calculator out.
Right.
This is the starting lineup last night for the Sixers. Now, they're trying to win, mind you. We don't want them to win, but the people that are out there are trying to win.
All right, take a guess. What do you think the 5 starters plus minus was combined?
I got to think it was close to minus 85.
Minus 95.
Minus 95, their starting lineup. You got to be kidding me.
Drummond was a minus 25.
The 2 guys off the bench, this guy who looks like he should be on a road crew somewhere, Alex Reese, was a plus.
A Dembona was a plus 12.
And a Dembona.
Dude, the one dunk was awesome.
See, I don't mind. I don't mind
watched the
Bona.
whole game where he saw his dunk.
I was thrilled to watch that game last night. You kidding me? A good old-fashioned tank off?
Well,
Ray was excited.
Look at the Raptors team that beat him. Ray put it in the show sheet. Name 3 players that the Raptors had on the floor last night. You can't do it. Look at. Here's who they started last night. Jamison Battle. All right, Podol, we know. Colin Castleton. Who the hell's that? He played 40 minutes. Who? Jared Roden. Jamal Shedd. All right, Jamal Shedd.
Who is he?
Did you see, though, that a single one of the Raptors players was in the minus?
Orlando Robinson. A.J. Lawson.
My new favorite player, Orlando Robinson.
Combined for 53. Who are these guys? And they whooped up on the Sixers last night.
25 and 12 for Orlando Robinson. He is a legend in this city. He should never buy a drink in Philadelphia again. Big win for the Raptors.
25 and 12.
Honest to God, I don't know. Listen, I know we don't even talk about the Sixers anymore. It's irrelevant. Well, I am just flabbergasted at what a rotten stink this season has produced. I can't get over it. I've never seen anything like it. From the start of a season, the way we were talking about the Sixers, to minus 95 on a starting lineup last night against the Raptors.
It's pretty bad, Mike. I mean, I'm out of adjectives to describe it.
This is bad. This is very, very bad.
It is. It's pretty damn bad. But look, maybe all this suffering, they get the number 1 overall pick. Is there any chance? I mean, there's a chance. But would that make you feel better? Would that make you feel any better if they end up somehow the lottery balls fall their way and they're able to draft Cooper Flagg? Would you say, you know what, all that ridiculousness was worth it?
Hold on to your horses there, my friend. Because if Cooper Flagg does not want to play for the Sixers,
You think he stays at Duke?
He's going to make $12 million next year in NIL.
It is crazy.
$12 million.
Plus, you're in college.
So here's the greatest irony. Even if the Sixers defy the odds and get the number 1 pick, the kid says, "Nah, I'm going back to Duke." I mean, can you imagine? Would it shock you? The way this season has transpired, the way this organization is the way it is right now?
No, that's probably the way things would go, unfortunately. Well, at least we got the Phillies.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles add A.J. Dillon. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Eagles signed former Packers running back A.J. Dillon yesterday to a one-year deal to join the running back room that lost Kenny Gainwell to free agency. The early portions of free agency have been defined by just that for the Eagles, seeing a number of former Birds depart, and even the shedding of money in the trade of C.J. Gardner-Johnson to Houston. Adam Schefter joined Kincade and Salciunas yesterday and said that the Eagles are likely to shed more salary.
I think they're more likely to shed more salary than acquire more salary. That's how I feel right now. So you're asking if there's a trick up their sleeve? No. Again, I think they're more likely to shed more salaries, make more moves the other way than more outgoing than incoming.
We'll keep you updated with anything more that happens with the Birds as free agency continues in the NFL. Elsewhere, the 76ers fell 118-105 to the Raptors, and with the loss, the Sixers moved into a tie with the Nets for the fifth worst record in the NBA. They returned to action on Friday night against the Pacers. And speaking of return to action, the Flyers host the Tampa Bay Lightning at 7 o'clock tonight. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update is brought to you by the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. Did you know that driving under the influence of marijuana is illegal? Drive high, get a DUI. A message from the New Jersey Division of Highway Traffic Safety. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
30 of the Mike Missanelli Show. Before we move on to the Phillies, and still, I want Eagle people to hang in. I want you to tell me where you are at this point. Blind faith in Howie, just resolute that he's going to get the job done. There's blind faith, there's resoluteness, there's, I don't know about this. And then there's, what is he doing? Like, there's 4 stages here of grief. Right? So, but before we get to that and some Phillies talk, I just want to say one thing. And I am so exasperated by this failure of the Sixer franchise that I can't help but think that there needs to be changes made. And I'm talking about across the board. I'm going to make myself Josh Harris right now, Bill. I'm Josh Harris, and I'm the Josh Harris sitting at courtside with my popcorn, loving the situation that I own an NBA team. I'm all happy. But today I'm not happy. Today I'm going to put the popcorn down, and I'm going to go, this is such an embarrassing situation that let's start with the president of basketball operations. Sorry, Daryl, gone. Let's go to the head coach. Sorry, Nick, you haven't proven anything to me this year. Gone. Let's go to the assistants. How many are there?
Quite
15?
Yeah, there's a lot.
Gone. Gone. That's 15 gones. And then I'm going to move over to the front office and Daryl's big 4. Gone. I am completely gutting the whole situation and starting over. And I don't care if Embiid is coming back or not. If Embiid comes back, he comes back under a new regime.
Let me play devil's advocate because I don't necessarily disagree with you.
Okay.
But let's say I'm Daryl Morey and I come into your office and I make the argument, listen, Josh, I know it was a frustrating season, but it all kind of started with Joel not being ready to start the year because of the knee, because he played in the Olympics, because his recovery was set back. I need you to give me one more opportunity to see how things work out with Joel. Let's assume he's healthy. Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. They need a full offseason together as a big 3. We're going to fill in with some other pieces. We're going to move on from the Kyle Lowrys and the Eric Gordons of the world and allow me to go out and make some other moves. I'm asking for one more offseason with a healthy big 3.
Unfortunately, Daryl.
Hold on, let me give you one more thing.
Go ahead.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
And then he also gets to say, and look, Josh, I know we missed on some free agent signings, but I did hit on Jared McCain. Adembone in the second round looks like he has some talent. I was involved in drafting Tyrese Maxey. I want to be a part of this year's draft.
Unfortunately, Daryl, you've already showed your hand. So this goes beyond Embiid. Look at all the stiff after stiffs that you brought in here. You had absolutely no recognition of who can play and who can't. And you made the error of bringing in ancient guys who missed more games and made me pay for nothing than any season I've ever been involved in. I'm sorry. You seem to be a good guy. I know you got a good reputation. Maybe your reputation gets you another job in this league. I got to move on.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm trying to make the other side argument, but I don't disagree.
Because beyond Embiid and beyond the injuries, he showed nothing else. Okay? And I'll go, listen, the guys you brought in last night, by the way, minus 95 in your starting lineup.
Minus 95.
Minus 95. Tell me about that. Talk your way around that.
See, but one of the passes that I always gave Daryl Morey was he inherited some bad contracts, and there was really nothing he could do to put his fingerprint on the team until this offseason, which he failed on. But let's say they do move on from Daryl Morey, and they even bring in a guy like a Bob Myers that's being rumored to maybe be the next guy. Aren't we still 3 years away? Aren't we still?
I don't care, Bill. It's a fresher approach. You can't carry on with this stink. If you're going to bring back stink, you're going to be crossing your fingers. At least if you bring in new blood, you got different hope.
And maybe get creative. Yeah, it's a tough time to be a Sixers fan. But
he has proven to me that his talent evaluations blow. Okay? I can't get past that as an owner. Now, I don't know what Josh Harris is going to do because I don't know if he knows a basketball from a pumpkin, frankly. But I'm telling you what I would do. If I was the owner of this team and I watched this night after night after night, and everybody coming in on a revolving door, we'll try this guy. We'll try this guy. He has no idea who can play.
We got a Eagles signing, by the way.
Oh, an Eagles signing. All right, what do you got?
I'm not sure it's a breaking news worthy. But the Eagles are
Now, breaking sports news from 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
breaking news. The Philadelphia Eagles, according to Adam Schefter, have gotten some help at their edge rusher position. They have reached an agreement on a one-year deal with former Chiefs free agent Joshua Uche, who will now try to replace Josh Sweat and Brandon Graham. So they are bringing in some edge rusher help.
All right, how do you feel about that?
He's not going to be able to do what Josh Sweat gave you last year. I'm looking at his numbers. Last season, no sacks.
What is this? What is this? They bring in Justin Edwards here?
He had 2 with the Patriots
He had
last
2
year.
with the
Let's show
Patriots.
some
He had 2 with the
respect, all
Patriots.
right?
I was going to get there. Last season, no sacks with the Chiefs. He started the year with the New England Patriots, and he had 2.
Yeah, let me call my boy Steve Spagnuolo here.
Yeah.
Let me get him once to be done.
However-
how good is this guy? Nah.
Well, look, if you go back to 2022, we go way back, he did have 11 and a half sacks. So we know he's got it in him.
That was 3 years ago. He still has it in him.
That was in him.
3 years ago. We know he has it in him.
We know he has it in him.
3 years ago, he had it in him.
He's still only 26 years old, went to Michigan. He was taken in the second round by the New England Patriots. So Josh Uche
Josh Uche. All right.
adds some depth to the edge rusher.
Yeah.
Look, they're probably banking on Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt being your starters, and then you'll have Bryce Huff, you'll have Uche.
Reclamation with Huff. It's got to be the main thing. All right. Let's go to the text board. I know we got a lot of text right out of the chute because we've thrown 3 topics. We slapped them against the wall here, and we're going to develop each one of these topics a little further. But, Ray, what's the text board saying right now?
We got a texter from Jersey chiming in. You're really taking a lot of heat off Howie if you're going to say this is a gap year. If Jalen is as elite as a lot of people say, then there is no reason why this offense cannot carry this team, even if the defense does take a step back. Yes, Dillon is a camp body. He won't be on the opening roster.
A.J. Dillon. Camp body.
Already calling for A.J. Dillon's job. He's only been here 24 hours.
Oh.
Well, I saw a lot of people on Twitter, and they still have the PTSD of the Rashad Penny science, and this just reminds us of Rashad Penny. I don't think they're similar, and you need depth. When we got Rashad Penny that year, I think a lot of people were anticipating him to be a starting running back on this team. No one's anticipating that with A.J. Dillon. You have Saquon Barkley, but you need depth. You need other guys who can take the load off at times.
For the record, I'm not allowing for a gap year. I'm saying deep in the recesses of Howie's mind, he's got enough clout to have a gap year. 610-632-0975. Back after this.
Tyrone Johnson, Ricky Vitalico, and Silvana Kelleher. The smart, intelligent conversation you need to hear. Listen weekdays 2 to 6 p.m. Philadelphia's source for breaking sports news.
Mike Missanelli Show. In a little bit, we're going to get to this thing called the Optimism meter as far as Major League Baseball goes. And there's a surprising rating of the Philadelphia Philly fan base. We'll get into that in a second. But let's get to the phones. Our buddy Rick from Easton has been hanging. Let's see, we got our phones today. Rick, are you with us?
Mikey, I got you. You got me?
What's up, Rick? We got you.
How you doing?
Good.
Real quick, about Goddard,
Yes.
because this is probably one of the richest, I know you know this already, richest tight end draft in years. From Warren all the way down to Harold Fannin.
I like him.
Bowling
I like
Green.
Harold Fannin a lot.
He led the NCAA in 21 offensive categories. He's 6'4",
Yeah.
230.
Yeah, I like him.
It's really rich. That's why I don't think Goddard's coming back. I just don't feel it.
It would seem like, that's a perfect way to shave some money.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, it's a great way to get young blood at a rookie, the rookie contract stuff. Anyway, here's what I'm going to look very optimistically at this offense with Hurts coming back with a lot of confidence. I don't know how he can't come back with a lot of confidence. You got a 1,750-pound offensive line that has multiple All-Pros on it. I'm looking at this team being maybe a level below the greatest show on turf. I look at A.J. being an Isaac Bruce. I look at Devontae being a Torrey Holt. Barkley can catch the football better than Falk did. And I think Hurts can be that game manager with a lot more natural talent with his legs than Kurt Warner. I think they can hold the ball for 6 to 7 minutes and give that defense some type of a rest the way Brady did. I'm not going to compare Brady to Hurts, but Brady kept that Patriot defense on the sidelines for 6
So
minutes.
you are overly optimistic because of the offense carrying the defense this year.
Absolutely.
Bill, how you
Why
feel
not?
about that, Billy?
Yeah, we touched on that a little bit yesterday, too. I think you're right. I think when you look at especially where most of the money is tied up on this Eagles team, a lot of it all is on the offense. And you have a ton of talent. And even if they lose Mekhi Becton, I agree with you. That offensive line will still probably be one of the best, if not the best, offensive lines in all of football. So you may have to win games a little bit differently this year. You're probably not going to hold teams to 17 points every single week, but the Eagles should be able to score enough points that they still win a lot more games than they lose.
He went crazy compared it to Greatest Show on Turf.
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far.
That was a sling it around offense. But and also Marshall Falk catches the ball better than Barkley. Let's face it.
Falk gave a great speech, by the way, yesterday. I don't know if you saw it.
I didn't see it. What did he say?
His speech went viral because, he's the running back coach for Colorado now.
I didn't know that.
He took over the running back room in Colorado, and his introductory speech to the team was pretty good.
Sanders got him to be the running back coach?
So think about that. You got 2 Hall of Fame guys coaching
could
you.
they pay? Marshall Falk must be doing it for peanuts. You guys usually don't work for peanuts, do they?
No, but what he basically talked about in that speech is what we're requiring of you doesn't require talent. All we're asking for is effort. Yeah, effort in everything that you do. It was pretty good. But I thought about it like you're thinking of it. Like, man, you got Marshall Falk, you got Deion Sanders. If I'm a high school kid, and I'm like, I'm being recruited by all these schools, I get to go and I can be playing for 2 Hall of Fame
You
guys.
think these kids remember Marshall Falk?
They know he's a Hall of Famer.
Really?
Well, he starts it off with, he goes, I'm not going to give you all my stats. I'm Googleable.
Yeah.
That's what he says to the team.
I
Just
don't
Google
think
me.
the kids even would know who he is, but I hear you.
I think Google him. To his point about being the greatest show on turf, no, I don't think you're going to see them sling it the way that team did, but they are going to have to throw the ball a little bit more.
His thing, it was kind of like contradictory because he said they're going to control the ball. That was the greatest show on turf. Was like quick strike, boom, boom, down the field. The Eagles can control the football, and he's saying that thereby would make their defense rest. But that doesn't mean a rested defense could be good. Like, your defense has to be good first, right? And you have a lot of attrition. So whether they rest or not is not really the issue.
Yeah, it's going to look different this year. I mean, every single season takes its own turns. And I go back to the Chiefs. Like, when they beat the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl 57, they had a really good offense that year. not necessarily as good of a defense. And then it came back the year after, and they won a different way. So you can win many different ways, and you've seen the Chiefs evolve and do it. And even if this team doesn't win 14 games this year, you still expect them to be a playoff contender. And I keep going back to the quarterback, man. The Eagles have a Super Bowl quarterback. You can't say the same for a lot of these NFC teams. Just listen to this, Mike. You tell me how many of these guys you think could win a Super Bowl. Dak Prescott.
Nope.
I have no idea who the Giants quarterback's going to be, but let's say they somehow get Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's got it anymore. Jaden Daniels, I would say yes.
Okay.
All right, so there's
they're
one.
a coming team. That's going to be a contender for that.
That will be a contender. Let's go to the NFC North. Caleb Williams, I'm not seeing it yet. Jared Goff. I think he can. He's been there. Jordan Love. Ray, you still have hopes on Jordan Love?
Of course I do.
All right, so I'll give you him. There's 3. J.J. McCarthy.
No.
No, not yet. Michael Penix Jr.?
Not yet.
Not yet. Bryce Young? No. Derek Carr? No. Baker Mayfield?
Yes.
I don't see him ever winning a Super Bowl.
Wait, because he's too erratic?
I just think he's going to be a good regular
That's going to
season
be a
quarterback.
good team, though.
All right, let's give you 4 then.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good team. There's 4 contenders so far.
You got Kyler Murray? No. I don't see it. Brock Purdy? Not with that 49ers team this year. They decimated him.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold? No. Matthew Stafford, I think you'd still consider him there because of who he is.
They're pretty good.
So then that would mean you look at the NFC, there's only 5 quarterbacks outside of Hurts that we believe could win a Super Bowl, which by default then makes the Eagles a contender once again.
They're a contender, but there's 5 teams that are gonna push them hard. And rather than look at the quarterback, you got to look at the team and take the defensive attrition, put it in the equation, and tell me that the Eagles now, because these teams want to get stronger. These teams now have a target on the Eagles. Lions, Commanders, Packers, Rams, Bucks. They're all coming.
And the Vikings have done a lot.
Oh, and I forgot the Vikings.
But J.J. McCarthy is the big X factor.
Yeah.
He barely played, got hurt in camp.
Yeah,
right?
Quarterback. But they have built their team pretty well around the fact that they're going to go with a novice quarterback.
They have.
Or they bring in Aaron Rodgers.
I don't
Complete
see
the
it.
Brett Favre arc.
I think he's going to New York or maybe Pittsburgh.
No, it is a good question, Ray. They have built up in other positions whether they would trust J.J. McCarthy. They think they can win something. Are they going to win it with J.J. McCarthy? Maybe Aaron does come in on the white horse. 610-632-0975.
Fanatic Sports.
The Eagles signed former Packers running back A.J. Dillon yesterday to a 1-year deal to join a running back room that lost Kenny Gainwell to free agency. The early portions of free agency have seen exactly that happen to the Birds. A number of former Eagles departing, and even a money-shedding trade of C.J. Gardner-Johnson earlier this week to Houston. Adam Schefter joined Kincade and Salciunas yesterday and said that the Eagles are likely to shed more salary.
I think they're more likely to shed more salary than acquire more salary. That's how I feel right now. So you're asking if there's a trick up their sleeve. No. Again, I think they're more likely to shed more salaries, make more moves the other way than more outgoing than incoming.
In terms of incoming, in terms of additions, Adam Schefter is reporting that the Eagles signed edge Josh Uche to a deal today. He will join the team and join that edge rusher room that has been decimated by offseason losses already. He was most recently with the Kansas City Chiefs. Elsewhere, the 76ers lost 118-105 to the Raptors, and with the loss, the Sixers moved to a tie with the Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. They'll return to action on Friday night against the Pacers. Speaking of returning to action, Flyers host Tampa Bay Lightning at 7 o'clock tonight. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update's brought to you by Batteries Plus. At Batteries Plus, you can get a key fob for up to 50% less than at the dealership. Keys cut, key fobs program, and batteries are placed on the spot. Get a spare key today at Batteries Plus today. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
This is Bryson Stott. I drive a car. It's a Chevy. Hi, Missanelli, Joe. 97.5 The Fanatic. Is Mr. Car Dealer in the lineup today, Bill?
I think that he is.
Give me the Phillies lineup today, Bill.
Let me pull it up. I just had it.
It's a powerful lineup, I think.
So we got a decent lineup. It looks like the only true starter that's not in there is Castellanos today. So you got Trey Turner leading off, Bryce Harper batting second where he belongs, Alec Boehm batting third, Kyle Schwarber in your cleanup, Real Muto fifth, Kepler sixth, Bryson Stott batting seventh, Brandon Marsh batting eighth, and Mercado batting ninth today. So Casty's got the day off.
He must have needed it.
And you got Sanchez on the mound.
He didn't go on the 2 to 3 day road trip. Was he need another day off?
And you got, I guess, Mercado's a left-handed hitter too, right? So was that 3 lefties in a row?
Who's the pitcher?
Sanchez.
Who's pitching for the other squad?
That's a good question. That is a good question. So we got they're playing the Braves.
Okay, this is interesting. They're playing the Braves. This is at home, right?
Yeah, there's a righty on the mound. It's Anderson Pilar,
I don't even know who that is.
right-hander.
So how many starters do the Braves have in the lineup today?
Doesn't look like they have many. Oh no, they do. They do.
Who do they have?
So they got De La Cruz. Arcia's in.
All right, RC is a starter.
That may be
Who else?
their lineup. White, Arcia, Cooper, Trump, Kellenic,
Kellenic, maybe's a starter.
Marisnik,
Marisnik.
Williams. Is Marisnik a starter?
So he's center fielder. He might not be a starter.
Oh, we get to see Luke
No,
Williams play
Harrison's
today?
Luke
Phillies
Williams.
legend Luke Williams.
Luke Williams is starting for them today. Former Philly.
Yep, Luke Williams. Yeah, so they don't have a lot of their starters in today.
You got to wonder, Braves not taking these games against the Phillies seriously, what it means for the regular season.
There's plenty of time to take them seriously.
Feels like a bad tone to set by the Braves.
Yeah, maybe so. But, it was a really interesting story that I'm reading. I don't understand what this means, and only the fan base can understand and tell us what it means.
I'm not surprised by this.
Really?
No.
All right, so the Athletic put out something called the Hopometer. And this is the optimism that a team can actually win a World Series. What do you got there? What are you doing?
Oh, nothing. Raising my ear.
okay.
About to read. So I distracted you.
All right, yeah. All right, so here's the way it goes. The optimism meter for a team's fan base that are really excited about this year and what their teams can do. I don't know how they even measure this, right?
Well, it says they comb through 17,000 responses.
Okay.
And then they select 4 that they found representative or funny. That's where you read some of the...
Okay. All right. So the Los Angeles Dodgers are number 1. Their fan base, 99.7% optimism. I don't understand how that can't be 100. But with that team, you got to be kidding me. Seriously?
Well, probably the 180-year-old who says, you can't do it twice.
Here's the anonymous pessimist. It's impossible to be optimistic. We're either broken baseball by spending and winning a World Series, or we're the laughingstock choke artist. Well, come on. The Dodgers should win going away with that lineup. 2, interesting.
Yeah, high.
The Arizona Diamondbacks, 99.4% optimism.
Pretty high. I mean, they like their pitching.
I don't understand. They lost Christian Walker, but they signed Corbin Burns and Josh Naylor. All right, so that fan base thinks they can win something. The Texas Rangers at 97.5% optimism. We'll get to the other side of this. It's the Mike Missanelli Show. You're listening to it on 97.5 The Fanatic. WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station broadcasting from the Comcast Business Studios, empowering possibilities. The Texas Rangers, 97.5 optimism. They're a good squad. And Jacob deGrom is back. All right? They also made the additions of Jock Peterson and Jake Berger. Number 4. Oh, hold on to your hats. The New York Mets. 95.5% optimism from their fan base. Juan Soto bringing that optimism.
He is, but you know what's crazy? Look at what the optimism was for last season.
The optimism for last season was 38.4% from their fan base.
Huge
so
jump.
This is legit. Juan Soto brings that much optimism to the New York Mets, who had a really good year last year.
They did.
And they added Juan Soto. Now, their pitching staff, Number 5, the Kansas City Royals. What? 93.5% optimism, up from 74.4% last year. So far, we haven't seen the Phillies in the top 5. Do we have number 6? Nope. The Boston Red Sox at 91.8% optimism. Last year, 12.2%. What did they do? Well, they added some pieces. They added some free agent pieces. They added more pitchers. So the checkbook opened for the Red Sox, and hence they're 6th. Are the Phillies 7th? No, sirree, Bob. The Detroit Tigers, 86.9% optimism. They're a good team. They were in the playoffs last year. They're a coming squad. Number 8. I can't believe this. It's not the Phillies even number 8. It's the Cincinnati Reds. Cincinnati. 86.7% optimism for the Cincinnati Reds with a new manager. Who is that? Tito Francona and a plethora of young players. Number 9, is it the Phillies? No! It's the Atlanta Braves at 84.4% optimism. And finally, number 10, your Philadelphia Phillies at only 84.1% optimism, as opposed to last year, 96.9%, and the year before, 98.7%. Bill, there is a 12% drop-off in optimism from the fan base. Explain it to me.
Well, it's also crazy that it's a slightly lower optimism percentage than you even had in 2022. And in 2022, that team kind of came out of nowhere. You knew you had free agents and things, but no one expected them to make the run that they made. The only thing I can explain it as is the reality of what it is. You've been disappointed 2 Octobers in a row, going back to what happened in Arizona 2 years ago with the Diamondbacks coming to here and you losing final 2 games in Citizens Bank Park. And then what happened last year, you didn't even get out of the divisional series. And they didn't make any big moves that the fan base was excited about, but maybe they should have been.
Let's go optimist, pessimist here. Feedback from people that they surveyed. Optimist, a 95-win ball club last year that added Jesus Luzardo, and we'll have Andrew Painter coming in at some point. Just banking on the bats getting hot in October because time is running out. The pessimist, Father Time comes for us all. The rotation is fierce, but the lineup and bullpen have some glaring holes. This team feels like it's hanging on by a thread. Optimist, a team that has fallen short of the World Series expectations, watched an underrated Eagles team slay a dynasty and parade down Broad Street. That was supposed to be their parade. Bryce Harper's intensity turns up to thermonuclear levels as he single-handedly tries to will this team to the promised land. And finally, the last pessimist. The peaks are spectacular. We have a lot of expensive, talented hitters, but I haven't really seen anything to really explain or anything in the offseason that could truly mitigate the offensive whimper from the end of last season. And that was you, Bill. Did you write that in?
Yeah.
That was the offensive whimper from the end of last season carries over for you, Bill, all the time.
It does, but if you were asking me, am I more pessimistic or optimistic? I've told you, I've come around to the more optimistic side. I mean, when I look at this starting rotation, and you also have Andrew Painter waiting in the wings, that they're saying is going to be up here by June or July, it's hard to not picture this team as a playoff team. And to steal your line, it's baseball. We know if they get into the postseason and you have starting pitching, anything can really happen. So, yes, I don't love the fact that the bats have gone cold 2 Octobers in a row. I don't love the fact that we still have question marks in the outfield and there's going to be a platoon in center and you brought in a left-handed bat and Max Kepler when you really needed a right-handed power bat. But even with all that said, when you have starting pitching, you can win a lot of games in this league. And they did win 95 games last year with Walker, with Phillips, with Mick Abel, whatever his name is, who just got put back down into AAA. So now that you've added Luzardo and maybe Andrew Painter coming in June or July, this team's probably going to be a 95-win team again.
Pitching is always iffy. You never know when guys have to get on the shelf for a little bit. You can't count on those 5 delivering every start. That's the only problem. And here's what I say. I like the Phillies. I think they got a really good lineup. I think they've got a good pitching staff. There are some holes in the bullpen. However, even when you stack a good hitting lineup together, things eventually get stale because you're running this lineup now for this is the 4th straight year with this kind of lineup. And things get stale. When you expect these guys to deliver, sometimes they just hit a wall and don't deliver.
How much do you think the shaking up of the lineup, if they do in fact do it, can help that?
I don't know. Who knows what is shaking up in the lineup? I never look at shaking up the lineup as something that's going to spur a team to really great heights.
And I agree with you. Normally, I think we overhype shaking up the lineup, but in this scenario, there's a big change going from Kyle Schwarber as your leadoff to Trey Turner. To me, that's a massive difference in how you're starting your lineup now. You went from a power hitter in Schwarber to now hopefully Trey Turner, who's going to focus more on getting on base. He's going to run a little bit more. He's got the ability to steal bases. You got Harper right there at the second spot. And now maybe Schwarber in the cleanup.
The only problem is their record with Schwarber as the leadoff hitter was spectacular.
Until the postseason.
All right. 610-632-0975. Back after this.
The Philadelphia 76ers.
Sixers win. Play that song.
The Philadelphia Flyers.
11:12. Mike Missanelli Show, 97.5, The Fanatic. Oh, boy. Anyway, I went to say this yesterday. Congratulations. The Delaware Blue Hens. I know not many people pay attention to their basketball team, but they almost went on a historic run in their conference tournament. I know, Bill, you kept abreast of this. They almost won 5 straight games. They won 4 and lost the final. They were trying to do what UConn did many years ago, where they swept through their conference tournament with a losing record, by the way. They had a losing record going into this tournament. So congratulations to the head coach there, whose name is Martin Inglesby. Good guy, Archbishop Carroll guy, played at Notre Dame, and is the head coach there. And his brother happens to be Brad Inglesby. You know who Brad Inglesby is?
I do not.
He was the creator of the very successful series that starred Kate Winslet called Mayor of Easttown.
Set in PA.
Yes.
Right?
So their father was an All-American Villanova basketball player, Tom Inglesby. One guy followed in his father's basketball footsteps. The other guy went to Hollywood. Isn't that nice?
Very nice.
Anyway, the Blue Hens almost pulled it off.
Now, did they do enough to get into the tournament?
No, they have a losing record. They're not even going to get in the NIT, I don't think.
Yeah,
they're out.
Yeah.
They had the run like Temple did last year in the American.
Yeah,
you win 4 in 4 days, but you can't get the 5th in the 5th day.
Yeah, they had to win. It's tough to do that. But Temple, speaking of Temple, they play today, Ray. Tulsa, and I have put some money on the Owl today.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, what's the line on that?
I didn't take the line. I played money.
Sixers are favorite. I mean, the Sixers. The Owls are favorite.
Why would you compare
I know.
Temple Owls
Man,
to
that's
the
a bad
Philadelphia
slip.
76ers?
I'm sorry, Temple.
I played the money line.
You went money line. I got it at minus 182. Is that what you got?
Yeah.
All right, now.
Yeah. And yeah. So, and also there's St. Joe LaSalle today. The St. Joe Hawks, now Fran Dunphy, of course, is retiring, and he keeps his job going here as LaSalle keeps winning. But today they play the St. Joe Hawks in a Big 5 rivalry game with the conference tournament. St. Joe's is a 12.5-point favorite.
I was there last Saturday where LaSalle knocked them off.
So this is revenge for the Hawks.
Also, this is the 4th time these two teams are playing this season.
Mm-hmm.
Absurd.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Now, will we get Sunday, the bracket comes out. Are we going to get any local teams in the tournament?
Unless somebody goes on a run this weekend, no.
That's depressing, man. We used to have such good basketball with our
By the
college
way,
teams.
for the record, we're just having fun with Bryson Stott. I mean, listen, he's a shyer guy, and he's doing an ad for a very reputable company.
Yeah, it's just
And,
his acting.
We're just trying to jive Bryson Stott a little bit.
It's like the Aaron Phil Abundance commercials.
Exactly. Bryson, you got to get a little more personality. That's all we're saying.
I don't remember the Aaron Nola ones.
There's a reason why you don't. His acting is not. He's a tremendous pitcher. His acting, not what he's known for.
Yeah. He's representing a wonderful car dealership, I might say. We're just saying, Bryson, a little more feeling. That's all. Right?
Was the reason why he hits baseballs for a living.
There you go.
Brendan Gunn checking in, by the way, saying Villanova will be in by the end of the weekend. So delusion has officially hit Brendan Gunn.
By the way, I pounded the other side of that, too. I was another bet I made. So I have 3 bets on the board today. And I got to, I had to take UConn in that game against Nova.
Good call.
Money line.
Don't mess with the points.
In the NCAA tournament and conference tournament, I don't mess with the money line. So, you know who used to be really bad at commercials, too? Who really improved himself? JT Realmuto.
Yeah?
Yeah, when he first started out, he was Stottish.
See, when I hear those commercials, the first thing I think of is Rocky 2. Remember when Sylvester Stallone is doing his he's trying to make the transition to do some commercials?
Oh, yeah. And he was stiff. Yeah. And you know who didn't miss a beat when he did it? First of all, 2 amazing guys when they started doing a commercial. One's Jason Kelsey.
Oh, yeah, he's
the
a
other
natural.
one was Jay Wright. Oh, my God, he slayed it. You just have, if you have that kind of personality, when you do commercials, there's a little bit of acting involved, like you. What's up, everybody? Bill Colarulo.
Yeah, you don't like that, though.
No,
Ray, Mike didn't like my what's up, everybody.
It's like,
I was tuned in.
You are.
I agree with the YouTube
So
chat.
much so that poor Austin, who's probably nervous, producing the first time on the Mike Missanelli show, he makes him during the break cut my live read from a minute earlier.
And I texted Austin right away. Great work with that.
Yeah.
No, but my problem with you going, "What's up, everybody?" is you start the ad with a question that they can't answer.
Yeah, but then they
What's
say to
up,
themselves-
everybody? What are they going to answer? Oh, we're doing good, Bill.
They're driving in the car and they're like, "Oh, he just said what's up to me. He's telling us about a
It's
great
like
deal
You
from
started
FanDuel."
with a question. What's up, everybody? They can't tell you what's up.
It's like when you're walking down and you say hi to someone on the street. Sometimes you say, "Hey, how you doing?" You don't necessarily
it's like
want
you
them to
could-
say anything
I
back.
give them my life story every
You can
time.
very easily go, Bill Colarulo here without the "What's up, everybody?"
All right, every morning you walk into this building. There's a wonderful, nice gentleman security guard in the lobby.
Yes. Yeah.
Without fail, him and I both usually will say to each other, "Hey, how you doing today?" I don't think either one of us actually answers that question.
Oh, he gets my entire last 24 hours when he asks me.
But hold it. You're saying how you doing today? He can answer you.
But he usually
You
does.
go, "What's up, everybody?" Like, they can't answer you. You're putting it into space.
Mike Miss here.
The difference.
I'll just do that. I'll just do Mike Miss here.
People are going, "What are these guys talking about?" We're talking about the way they do commercials. No, when I first came over from newspapers, I was terrible. In fact, I remember Glenn Mack now telling me, he goes, "Can I tell you something?" I go, "What?" He goes, "Your commercials stink." And I go to him, "Well, what are you, Mr. Pitchman? All of a sudden, like you came from the same place I did."
You stink, he told you. He didn't pull punches.
All right.
Do we have anything? I
go
am
back
curious.
to the text
yeah,
board,
on
yeah.
that optimism thing. Anybody weighing in on being optimistic about the Phils?
Yeah, we got an unnamed texter from Indiana. I can't handle this fan base. I get what Bill is saying about the past 2 years, but I see at least one of those years as an aberration. The fact is, though it wasn't splashy, the Phillies improved in the offseason in places they needed to improve. Remains to be seen if it will be enough, but I don't think that's a valid reason to be less optimistic.
There you go. All right. I don't know. Is it possible that this team has run its course? That we keep waiting to squeeze some more juice out of them when maybe we've seen the best of them? I don't know. I hate to think that way because I'm looking forward to a summer of successful ball.
I'm right there with you.
610-632-0975. Back after this.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles and A.J. Dillon. I'm Ray Dunn. This update brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. The Eagles signed former Packers running back A.J. Dillon yesterday to a one-year deal to join a running back room that has lost Kenny Gainwell to free agency. And free agency for the early portions of it for the Birds has seen exactly that. A lot of players departing. Even the money-shedding trade of C.J. Gardner-Johnson to Houston earlier this week. Adam Schefter joined Kincade and Salciunas yesterday and said that the Eagles are likely to shed more salary.
I think they're more likely to shed more salary than acquire more salary. That's how I feel right now. So you're asking if there's a trick up their sleeve. No. Again, I think they're more likely to shed more salaries, make more moves the other way than more outgoing than incoming.
Well, incoming, according to Adam Schefter, is edge rusher Josh Uche, who was most recently with the Kansas City Chiefs. Did not play in the postseason for the Chiefs and recorded 2 sacks last season, both those coming with the Patriots. Elsewhere, the 76ers lost 118-105 to the Raptors, and with the loss, the Sixers moved into a tie with the Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. They returned to action on Friday night against the Pacers. And speaking of returning to action, the Flyers host the Tampa Bay Lightning at 7 o'clock tonight. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update's also brought to you by AAA Car Care. Come into your local AAA Car Care Center and save $40 on any repair of $150 or more. Offer valid through March 31st. Details at AAA.com/mycar. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Philadelphia Sports.
Show 97.5 The Fanatic. I'm looking in a situation with Shaquille O'Neal. I don't know if you saw this or not.
Where he didn't know who coached the Pistons?
Yes.
I did see it.
I know it's funny because both the guys, I love them dearly, Chuck and Shaquille O'Neal, the way their chemistry is. But I don't think either of them really followed every dribble. I really don't. I think they look at the games and they make their comments, but they're not like overly studious.
But what made this one worse is he's talking about the Pistons and how hard they're playing under this coach. But then when he gets called out for having the wrong coach, he goes, I don't watch them.
Well,
then how do you know they're playing hard?
Here's the way it went down. First of all, on his podcast, he thought Detroit, whatever, I'm talking Detroit, they got no chance to win a bleeper championship. They're 4 games under 500. Well, they're not. They're 6 games over 500, first of all. Then he goes on TNT. Now, this wasn't the Chuck's TNT. This was Candace Parker and Adam Lefkoe, and I don't know who else is on that. Who's the Vince Carter, maybe? Well, whoever it is. So he says, this is what he says on the show. Cade Cunningham, a great player now. He plays at his own pace. Anybody, I'm trying to do Shaq now. Anybody that can consistently play at their own pace and put up numbers is a great player. I like the way he's playing. I like what Chauncey's doing. Those guys play hard. Now, Chauncey played for the Pistons, but he doesn't currently coach the Pistons. He coaches the Portland Trailblazers. So Candace Parker goes, no. I can't let this go. Who's doing it? You said Chauncey. Well, Chauncey's the coach, right? O'Neal said. Vince Carter informed him that J.B. Bickerstaff is actually the current head coach of the Pistons. And Shaq says, first of all, I don't watch Detroit.
Yeah.
How about that? Boo-boo. How about that, boo-boo? I messed up. I made a mistake. Like, come on, Shaq.
Yeah, he makes a point about Detroit and then says he doesn't watch Detroit. Well, like you said, him and Charles are both there more for their entertainment, not necessarily their basketball analysis.
Yeah.
Gives us entertainment. Speaking of entertainment, I'm scrolling Twitter right now. Mm-hmm. And this is the problem that I'm starting to have with Eagles fans. Everything they do is just
Peachy?
overwhelmingly praised.
Peachy.
Like, look, this Joshua Uche.
Yeah.
There are people excited about it. Like, this is a great move. Like, I get it. It's a low-risk move. Low risk, potentially high reward. A guy who has some athleticism, who's had a season with double-digit sacks 3 years ago. Well, come on. We get carried away now with every move.
Well, here's the thing, and you can't get around it. The Eagles' front office has cachet now. There's no question.
And they should. I agree.
Yeah,
they should.
And this is why I'm saying, when you have cachet like that, you can make moves like this, maybe in the back of your mind going, we can't possibly be as good defensively as we were last year, but we got this cachet, and people are still going to believe us and support us. And it's a really good place to be in. The fact of the matter is they signed A.J. Dillon, and people are going overboard with praise, and they signed Uche, and people are going overboard. And that comes from the goodwill that the Eagles have. It's like they took one of those mosquito trucks. Remember those? And you come down the street, and they spray all this...
I don't remember those, but my mom always told me you guys used to run in it.
Mosquito trucks, DDT. They were spraying.
People were running in it.
They were spraying poisonous gas, but this is like nice laughing gas that they're putting throughout the Delaware Valley of the Eagles. Goodwill gas.
And I don't want to rain on anybody's parade, but I'm going to do it just a little bit. Because for all of the good moves that Howie Roseman made last offseason, you also got to remember that in addition to the Bryce Huff signing, they signed Matt Hennessy. They signed Devontae Parker, Devin White, P.J. Mustafer, Paris Campbell, Tyler Hall. I mean, the list goes on and on of people who didn't work out. John Ross. Remember how excited everybody was about John Ross?
His free agent signings have not been that great. When you think about it.
Yeah, Max Sharping, Parry Nickerson, Nick Gates, Caden Stearns.
I mean,
these are a lot of guys.
Marginal guys.
That didn't do anything. He picks up Charles Harris during this season for the Panthers. Every move he makes, he's not Midas.
But Eagle fans don't want to put that under a microscope. Eagle fans now are feeling so good about what the front office did and what Howie did that it doesn't matter at this point until these guys don't work out. Then it'll matter.
Yeah, I just got Raging Truth on YouTube. Bill, check the trophy case. I agree.
It's not about the trophy case, though. It's about what they're going to do now. And by you checking the trophy case means you have given them total immunity, which is fine. You're entitled to feel that way as a fan. But you also have to look at the other side of this. They have lost some really important players. They are now tasked with replacing those important players. But you can't, like, if the Eagles hadn't won the Super Bowl last year, do you think the signings of Uche and A.J. Dillon would be welcomed with a parade?
No, and not with the losses that they had. But I get it. And you're right. When you say check the trophy case, I do trust in Howie Roseman. But at the same time, you can't get too carried away because he does miss a lot on signings. And that's just the nature of the NFL. But let's not get too excited with some of these signings. And I'm also seeing not only an over-the-top trust in Howie, which I understand, but sometimes I think it's over the top. Mm-hmm. An over-the-top trust in Vic Fangio. Whereas every single player that Fangio is going to get his hands on is immediately going to become a star. Because when I made the correlation between what you saw after the 2022 season, where they lost a bunch of defensive starters, just like that's happened this year, a lot of people have said, yeah, but the big difference is Vic Fangio, and he's going to be able to coach these guys up. And I agree with that to an extent. But Fangio's not a miracle worker either. I mean, he couldn't get Bryce. Bryce Huff was a good pass rusher in New York.
Let's look at it on the brightest side possible. That Fangio, just like he saw in Bond, sees the same thing in Uche.
Possible. But at the same time, what he did with Zach Bond, I would say, is the exception, not the norm. He couldn't get anything out of Bryce Huff. He didn't necessarily.
Well, he didn't recommend Bryce Huff either.
He didn't. So we're assuming Uche is a guy that
he likes.
Fangio said, you know what, I want him.
That is possible. Now, I don't know how much tape he has on him. Like, what could he possibly have to see? Like, he had some tape on Bond. He saw the way he reacted. This guy doesn't have a sack.
Well, he didn't have a sack with Kansas City.
Right.
And Kansas City gave up a 6th-round pick to get him last season and then shut him down, didn't play him in the playoffs.
But he had sacks
if you go back to the 2022, and I'm seeing some stats from Pro Football Focus that since 2022, he has a 16% pressure rate, which is up there with the tops of the league.
Okay, well.
But so did Huff.
Yeah.
So we'll see what they can do. You look at the edge rusher position. If I said to you right now, and I know it's a long offseason, what position on the defense do you have most concerns about? I think it would have to be the edge rusher because you only have Nolan Smith that is a proven commodity. And when I say proven commodity, he's done it for one season. Jalix Hunt, I'm excited for him, but really only came on towards the end of last year. Then you have Bryce Huff, and now you add Uche into the mix. It's a big question mark at edge rusher.
Here's the way I like to look at this. And again, this is a fictional conversation. But, Howie and his advisors, they sit around the table after the season. They go, we're going to lose this guy, lose that. And they go, Howie, we can't possibly be as good defensively next year as we were this year. And he goes, it's okay because right now we're golden with the fan base. If we don't win the Super Bowl next year, they're not going to burn the building down. We have this kind of clout right now. So let's see what we'll do. We'll do our best. We'll still be a contender. Maybe we're not strong enough defensively to actually pull this off on a repeat, but it's going to be okay. Like, I can imagine that kind of conversation going on.
You're not wrong, as I like to say, but I also just don't know if that's in Howie Roseman's DNA. If they're looking at it that way.
He's a realistic guy. My God. If anything, he's realistic. He's not naive. You can't possibly lose all those type of players. And that's why he told the fan base. He warned them. He said, listen, free agents going to look a little different this year. So he got out in front of the story. Did he not, Bill? He's smart. That's not a guy who thinks he can be the same defense. That's a guy saying, hey, be patient.
Yeah, he knew. He definitely knew at the Combine. I was looking for that quote again. So here's exactly what he said. And now when you hear these words, it's really telling. He says, it may look different. Some of the moves that we may have to make here may not be what are necessarily on other people's minds. It's probably not going to look like maybe the conventional wisdom thinks it should look. I would just ask our fans to have patience throughout the offseason. The offseason doesn't stop in free agency. The offseason doesn't stop in the draft. Yeah, when you hear that, we're going to lose a lot of guys, And let's hope that maybe after the draft we can get those free agents, those late pickups like he's done in previous years. But he prepared us. We should have been ready.
Get in 610-632-0975. Hopefully our phones are all cleared up for you. It's the Mike Missanelli Show. It's on 97.5 The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatics Knockout Tournament.
Mike Missanelli Show. This is my time of the year, Bill. Not so much your time, my time and Ray's time.
For
College
March
basketball.
Madness?
March Madness, league tournaments, and then the actual tournament coming your way. There's a college basketball issue that I wanted to talk about just quickly because I was reading this story about Coleman Hawkins. Now, he's a big forward who was going to go into the NBA draft last year from Illinois, but he decided to transfer for one more year to Kansas State. because he got $2 million in NIL money. He got ripped to shreds all year on social media because he didn't quite deliver the stardom that was predicted for his $2 million. Now, it's one thing when you got the NIL money coming your way, and it allows college kids to maybe stay in college a little longer than they would have, right? That's the good thing about it, I guess.
Yeah.
The bad thing about it, or is it a bad thing? Does that make them fair game for more criticism as a college kid? Because after the game, this kid, they got eliminated by Baylor. He broke down and cried about how he didn't live up to the bargain because all these people made him feel guilty and he wasn't good enough and stardom, and he said he really wrecked his whole year. What's your position on that?
I'm torn because this kid's 23, right?
Is he 23? That's old.
Yeah.
Oh, he's old.
That's what I mean. Because you look at some of the guys who are in professional sports, they're younger than 23 years old. So they're getting drafted and they're trying to live up to big-time contracts with fan bases that are probably have higher expectations than even maybe this college program did at Kansas State. So I am torn on it because it kind of comes with the territory. You're making a lot more money now as college athletes. There's going to be more pressure.
Interesting. So you take the money, you got to expect the criticism.
I think you do. Look, we're not talking about high school kids here. You know, if he was a 16, 17-year-old kid, then I would feel differently. But when you're 23 years old.
So basically, you're saying you're making professional money. A professional would have to put up with that criticism. Why shouldn't you? How can you hide behind the curtain of just being a college student? That's what you're saying.
Exactly.
Ray Dunn, a man who's covered colleges, who does play-by-play, has been around the college game. How do you feel about that, Ray?
I know he says it's about the money, and I'm sure for some people it is. I think there's vitriol for college athletes just in general that's probably over the top.
Like, you think it's over the top?
I think there's a difference between what we do in criticizing athletes and the way they perform and the way that some fans act towards athletes, mainly on social media. Like, I'll see comments and I'll call out fan base that, I'm very familiar with, Temple. I see some ill-informed Temple fans that'll say things about players on the team, and it's like, oh man, if I was that player reading that would affect me. That would impact me. I can only imagine Kansas State when it's out there and figures are published that this guy's getting millions of dollars to play for your team and your team's not performing, that some of these fans act emotionally and say things that are probably way out of pocket about this guy. So I'm sympathetic to him for that reason.
So Bill's saying you took that kind of money. With that kind of money comes the criticism.
Well, I guess
criticism is fair. Criticism is fair. I think there's a level beyond criticism that fans get to.
Social media, there's a level of social media in general.
Yeah, I think that applies across the board, though, to all athletes. Like, I think even professional athletes. But what I'm saying is I don't think that you should be able to, I don't know if hide is the right word, but hide behind the fact that I'm just a college student, quote unquote, when you're older than, Keely Ringo's 22 years old. Like, I'm in the YouTube chat and the guy says, 23 is a child. Well, Keely Ringo's 22. Are we going to draw the line and say, if Ringo has a bad game this year, we're not going to be critical because he's just a kid? No, you're going to be critical of him because he's a professional athlete. If a college kid is 23 and he's making millions of dollars, we can't be critical. I think there's a fine line. You should be able to be critical, but I agree with you. Across the board, even grown men shouldn't get attacked the way we attack. And when I say we, I'm talking about fans on social, not us.
Yeah, and I think that's more where this comes from. I think that it's taken it to another level for these college fan bases, and I also think it's, some of these bigger college town-ish places where this is like what you live and die with. Like, you show up Kansas State basketball, like
that's big. Kansas State, big. Manhattan, Kansas, big program.
But I think that, but to them, that's like their thing. Like that's so when you throw that money around and you see that money being thrown into something, you're like, well, why aren't we having greater results?
Well, but here's the other side of that. Like Coleman Hawkins, he gets this offer. Man, they're gonna pay me $2 million to play 1 year there. I gotta take that, right? I take the $2 million. I always go to the NBA. So he takes the $2 million and not thinking, well, if I take that $2 million, people are gonna have these expectations of me, so I better perform. Now, the brittle guy lets that affect him, and like this guy, he wasn't able to handle it all year. But when he takes that $2 million, he should know. Well, people are going to be paying a lot of attention. You know?
Yeah, it does. It kind of comes with the territory. And again, I didn't read some of the comments of. I'm sure people said things that were over the top and inappropriate, but I think simply expecting more from a player who got over $2 million in NIL money is fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that we should just say, well, he's only a college kid, so we're not going to criticize his play.
Yeah, I don't think any of this is devoid of expectation. You obviously have expectation on the guy and expectation on the team on the way the season should go. For him to be at where he's at right now, like where he's crying after the game, obviously he's disappointed with the season, but I would feel like, I haven't read a lot of, shockingly, I haven't gotten to read a lot of Coleman Hawkins, criticism this season because Kansas State basketball isn't top of mind.
Not in our purview.
But I would imagine with that type of money, that type of expectations in that scenario, he is probably speaking more towards people who have made it more personal than just critique his game. If it's just critiquing his game, then all right, man, like this is the way this
you're
goes.
A big disappointment. You stink, but you think it's beyond that.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. Okay.
But I would also say, I'm even learning this doing this business. You got to ignore, man. You got to ignore a lot of these comments.
You probably shouldn't even look at social media.
Social media comes after.
If you're having a bad year, like you probably should.
Yeah, just ignore it.
Now, I know what's funny about this because I covered college basketball for a lot of years. And there was none of this. It was just under the table payments, right? Like the out front stuff, right? Puts more of a bullseye, even though the same thing was going on underneath. But the sanctity of being a college student, like it was hidden.
Yeah, you just got money in a bag on top of a tractor for Ricky Rowe.
Exactly. Like I saw the kid from Arizona, University of Arizona, Chris Mills, roll up in a Porsche Carrera at practice. I'm going,
hey, where'd that come from?
Dude, what the hell? By the way, I covered the this has nothing to do with taking money under the table, but I'm thinking like the Fab Five. Do you think those guys didn't get something?
Oh, I'm sure they did.
The Fab Five got stuff, right? To assemble those five guys all at once. They weren't just coming for the glory of Ann Arbor, right?
Now you think about, though, if NIL was legal then and we knew what they were getting, they would be getting millions. Because they made the Michigan gear was always cool, but when you had the Fab Five, everybody wanted Michigan gear.
The Fab Five made the long pants cool. They invented the long pants. But it's funny, when I think of the Fab Five, I saw Temple almost beat them, right? Aaron McKee and Eddie Jones' team almost beat them in an NCAA tournament game. I think it was the Elite Eight. But the best trash talker I had ever seen in college basketball was Jalen Rose.
He was good?
He was unbelievable. I covered a game. They were playing Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State had a star player named Byron Houston. He was like a 6'5" power guy like Barkley, but without Barkley's ability. And so the Fab Five has just locked them up. And there's like 5 minutes left in the game. Fab Five is up by like 18. So there's a timeout. Jalen Rose circles Byron Houston. And this is like right in front of me. And he goes, man, we were told all kinds of mess about you, how you were this, how you were that. You know what? You ain't S. And Byron Houston he's just standing there like humiliated. And he just kept on and on and on, kept circling him. Man, you ain't nothing. Classic. Mike Missanelli Show back after this.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles add A.J. Dillon. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Eagles signed former Packers running back A.J. Dillon yesterday to a one-year deal to join a running back room that has lost Kenny Gainwell to free agency, and that's the story of the early portion of free agency for the Birds, losing a number of players, even the trade that shed money when they traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson to Houston. Adam Schefter joined Kincade and Salciunas yesterday and said this is business as usual this offseason. The Eagles might look to shed even more money.
I think they're more likely to shed more salary than acquire more salary. That's how I feel right now. So you're asking if there's a trick up their sleeve? No. Again, I think they're more likely to shed more salaries, make more moves the other way than more outgoing than incoming.
Well, speaking of incoming, Adam Schefter is reporting that the Eagles signed edge rusher Josh Uche, who was most recently with the Kansas City Chiefs this season, had a pair of sacks this year. Both of them came back when he was with New England at the start of this season. Elsewhere, 76ers lost 118-105 to the Raptors, and with the loss, Sixers moved into a tie with the Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. They'll return to action on Friday night against the Pacers. Speaking of returning to action, the Flyers host the Tampa Bay Lightning at 7 o'clock tonight. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update's brought to you by Wendy's Breakfast. Freshen up your morning with Wendy's Breakfast like breakfast baconator, ready for a fresh wake-up call. Gotta be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
8:55, Mike Missanelli Show. All right, just one thing on the Eagles that we didn't address that I wanted to address with you, Bill, and it involves C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
What do we got?
Well, so we were talking about, okay, why would they do this with C.J. Gardner-Johnson? And a lot of Eagle fans were not happy with it. He brought attitude. There was, however, a story I was reading today about how he had given up more touchdowns than anybody in the league at that position. Did you read that story?
I did not.
He gave up like 9 touchdowns. I think it was Marcus Hayes' story today where an NFL goes, check out the touchdowns. But when you add that up, all right, that's the performance related. But we also talked about the beef with Slay, but also, and that we've soon forgotten about the vulgar message on the hoodie that he wore at the parade. Swifties can LIX whatever.
Yeah, LIX being the Super Bowl
right
59. But
Swifties can licks, basically he was saying. So, like those things, do you think those things, again, I talked about him being the rolling grenade. Like the grenade, it's, you fear it, and then it rolls and rolls, and you never know when it's going to explode. Do you think that had a lot to do with it?
A lot to do with it? No, but I think it definitely played a part in their decision. Like I do feel that there was some financials involved, probably some on the field play where maybe they didn't, Marcus Hayes' article, maybe they didn't love the fact that he missed a lot of tackles at times, and some about how he was off the field. Because as much as people did, I was texting with my cousin last night, and I said, I think his attitude played a part. He goes, I love his attitude. I said, yeah, on the field you love his attitude. I think that wears thin off the field in a locker room, and I highly doubt that Jeffrey Lurie and the owners of the team liked that sweatshirt.
Obviously.
It wasn't a great look. I remember when we saw it, too, I was kind of surprised he was wearing it at the parade.
Let's face it. He was kind of a time bomb. Now, they needed that time bomb because they realized what they didn't have without it. But maybe they always viewed him as a temp. Like they almost had to reacquire him. But then they go, we won the Super Bowl. We got what we needed. Now we don't need to put up with whatever is going to come from him in the future.
Yeah, and if you look at the way they structured the deal, when you say a time bomb, maybe they kind of knew, hey, if we want to get out from under this after a year, we can.
Yeah.
Because with them trading him, they don't save a ton of money as far as cap space goes, but they did save some cash. And I think you're right. They probably structured it in a way where, all right, if we want to move on after a year, we can. We got what we needed from him. He added some attitude, but they don't need it as much now because you got guys like Quignon and Cooper DeJean and Jalen.
Now, we'll get into the actual numbers, statistical numbers that may have done him in a second. You're listening to the Mike Missanelli Show on 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station. And we're broadcasting from the Comcast Business Studios, empowering possibilities. Okay, so this story goes, the writer goes, he asked the NFL front office executive about him. Like, what's the deal? And the text back was, check the touchdowns. So let's go into the numbers here. According to Pro Football Focus, Gardner-Johnson gave up 9 touchdowns in pass coverage last season. That was 3 more than the next safety. In fact, it's the most TDs surrendered by any safety in 12 years since Dante Whitner gave up 12 with the 49ers in 2012. Now, we'll talk more about this in a second, but it is noon. Happy lunchtime to everybody. And at noon, we welcome him back after a couple of days' absence. It is the News at Noon with Ray Dunn.
There's a whole lot going on in this world. It's time to catch up. Here's the News at Noon. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
All right, Ray. Glad to have you back for the News at Noon.
So happy to be back.
What do we have today?
All right. We talked college basketball in the last segment.
Yes.
And I'm in a big college basketball mood. So the first 2 we're going to get here are college hoops. And I want to start with something that I guess this was a breakout following Wichita. Oof, my mind's on Wichita State for some reason. Following Virginia Tech's loss, very different school, in their conference tournament. Breakout with reporters. They're talking to Toby Lowell. And this, again, no audio of this, but this is the exchange between the reporter and Toby. What are you proud of when reflecting on yourself and reflecting on your team? My team, I'm proud of how far we came. What they have us in the preseason, maybe 14th or 15th, they thought we were going to be ass. I mean, we were still ass, but we weren't that bad. You know what I'm saying? We beat expectations.
Toby Lowell is their star player.
Yes.
Okay, so he's well, we're still ass, he says.
They thought we were going to be ass. I mean, we were still ass, but we weren't that bad.
Oh, we don't have him saying that?
No.
Oh.
I went all over Virginia Tech's website, and I imagine someone in media relations was like, if there is video of this isn't going to go out there.
No, I give the kid points for honesty, right? Like he's not trying to sugarcoat it at all. Yeah, we really didn't do anything. We weren't as ass as you guys thought.
That's pretty good.
Way to own them on your way out.
That's awesome.
All right, and speaking of bad basketball teams, Providence goes down, and Kim English not too happy with the season as a whole. And honestly, the way he skewers his team in the opening statement following their loss is better than any newspaper columnist could have.
Disappointing effort, disappointing outcome, but play true to the pitiful, embarrassing season we've had.
Embarrassing season.
Plays true to the pitiful, embarrassing season we've had.
Wow.
Brutally honest.
I always he's not lying there, but when coaches do that, they kind of bury in their players, right? And I go, well, dude, evidently you didn't do everything right. You couldn't get your players to respond. Either you picked the players, they weren't good. It's a large part of the responsibility of your team being, as Toby Lowell said, ass, is the way you coach the team, right?
He does take some responsibility for it following that clip, later on in his whole opening statement. But it does kind of throw you right under the bus, and the fact that he has to clarify he's picking on himself a little bit does kind of lead you to believe that he realizes what he's saying as he's saying it.
Yeah, a lot of coaches try to do that. They bury their players, and they go, well, dude, that's your production, really. You got to take the primary responsibility. But I guess you don't want to, your athletic director's right there, the president is listening. You don't want to mock yourself.
Yeah, not too much. You may lose your job.
Yeah. All right, last one for you. This is a News at Noon favorite. Stephen A. He's been in the news for a number of things over the last week, all over the place. His contract, obviously a big deal, 5 years, $100 million from ESPN, all the different things he could do. Following his contract being signed, he welcomed his nephew back onto the Stephen A. Smith Show, and his nephew is now unemployed because of this contract.
Got fired on Friday.
You got fired?
Yeah.
What do you mean you got fired?
Oh, well, I went to work.
What'd you do?
I went to work. I was drinking on the job, celebrating my contract. And how much you get? 5 years, $50 million? Was it 5 years, $50 million? Because I know you don't think the whole $100 million is yours.
What? First of all, only a fool discusses their money.
Oh, what's out there?
Secondly, it ain't nearly as it ain't as much as the reports say. Number two, here's my question. Here's my question. No, you don't have half. What the hell? You ain't my wife. I ain't married you. We ain't getting divorced. You ain't getting half. Who the hell told you that? That's number one.
I'm not your wife.
What?
You meet your wife when you're an adult. We've been together since I'm sandbox over here. Now, what were you saying? First of all, Friday, your nephew Jace came and woke me up talking about we rich. I'm like, we? I know me and your uncle rich, but why you saying that? He the one that let me know that we signed the contract.
Oh, this kid's...
It's hilarious. And if you see the video, he's wearing a We Rich hoodie, and he's got a hat on that says, "Don't ask me for nothing."
He's popping a bottle
and
of
he's
champagne
popping a bottle of champagne. It's so good.
What kind of contract he signed with his uncle here? What? You think Stephen A's going to volunteer that? I know Stephen A can be a little, he can be a little squeezy with the dollar.
Well, this is the same.
I know that.
This is the same kid, and I think Ray played it on the News at Noon before, who calls Stephen A from the club, right, to prove to girls that that's his uncle.
He said, "You never pick up when it goes to voicemail, and they know it's you."
Yeah. That's really interesting.
He's hilarious.
You know, Stephen. I was talking to Stephen A. when he stopped in when we were at the Super Bowl. Didn't I have that conversation with him about whether he would hire me for his big corporation? And he said no.
Yes.
I think he did say
Can we
no.
get the sound of that? Can we dig that out?
We can dig that out.
I want to hear exactly what he said, man. Now that he's worth $100 million.
He also gave you a compliment. He said that, I forget the exact words, but basically you're one of the best radio hosts, but the problem is you know it, is what Stephen A. said.
That's unfair. That's an unfair shot. I just wanted to glom onto some of his millions, like this dude. You know, because I played a part in his journey.
But didn't you tell me even when he didn't have all that money, you kind of fake it till you make it. Didn't he still live the same way with the suits and the personal assistant following him around and all that?
He still has the same personal assistant, which is good to see because he's been loyal to her.
Yes.
He's been loyal to him. Yeah, he would always try to live like an NBA player.
Yeah, fake it till you make it, man.
Before the $100 million came his way. But it wasn't like he was making chicken feed anyway at the time.
Gotcha.
610-632-0975, right? That's the number?
That is the number.
That is the number. We'll take your phone calls. Our phone system works. I've been assured that it works. So if you would like to chat with us, we would really appreciate it. And also on the text board, same number, 610-632-0975. Mike Missanelli Show continues.
We want to hear from you, so text us at
Global Lemon, Mike Missanelli Show. I got a little gig I'm going to tonight. I'm going to see Sebastian Maniscalco tonight.
Oh, I saw him in September.
You did?
Wait, where's he tonight?
He's in Bethlehem at the casino out there. What is that? Is that a...
I don't know what's
Parks?
Bethlehem.
Is it a Parks out there?
Up there?
Yeah, so let me have a friend of mine asked me to go. Is it odd to go with another buddy?
Not to a comedy show, I don't think.
No.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Okay.
I'm just surprised you're leaving the GF home.
He asked me to go. I said, all right, I'll give it a shot.
He's funny.
I've never seen him live in person. He's got that shtick. I think you have to be Italian, of Italian descent, to really get him. No?
Well, I don't know, because I am Italian and I do get him, so I don't know if I wasn't. But his stories just remind me a lot of my grandfather. Like, his relationship with his dad was me and my grandfather, so it does resonate with me.
Yeah, it resonates with me, too. But I'm saying, does it resonate with other... Like, he said one time, somebody asked him, what's the percentage of Italians that see your show? And he said 99.
Yeah, it's probably... You're probably right. Like, I don't know. Ray, you're not Italian. Do you like Sebastian? Well, you are
I'm
Italian.
50%
You're 50%,
Italian.
so it does resonate.
It does resonate.
You know a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you think you have to have that?
Yes, to an extent. I do think there are people that probably will enjoy it just because they enjoy just how animated he is.
Yeah, he's very animated.
More of his comedy to me is more the physical comedy than what he's saying. Like, I think he does a really good job with physical comedy as compared to what he's saying.
Now, have either of you checked out
his deliveries,
his new show on HBO? I say new; it's about a year old.
I have not.
That show, Bookie. It's okay.
Oh, it got canceled.
Did it get canceled already?
Yeah, it just got canceled.
Because it was okay. It wasn't great. Wasn't terrible. Wow, that got canceled already.
Yeah, it got canceled.
I wonder if we'll talk about that tonight.
Nah, he probably won't talk about that. Why would he? Is that funny?
I don't know.
You can make it a joke.
It's not funny.
It's not funny until you make it.
I'll make a joke about it.
I guess. Right, who do you are you a comedy man?
Yeah. I enjoy a good comedy show.
Who do you like these days?
I like Maniscalco. Sam Morrill is probably my favorite comic going right now.
Sam Morrill?
Yeah.
I don't know who that is. You know who that is, Bill?
I don't.
No, I've seen him now 3 or 4 times when he's come through.
Really?
Yeah, he's great. He's a New York-based guy. Big Knicks fan, so he's also a big sports fan, so he works sports into the set, which is always a good time.
Morrill, huh?
Yeah, big fan of him.
Oh, I've seen this guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him.
Yeah.
See, I like Nate Bargatze.
Yeah, he's probably my favorite right now.
I'm enjoying him,
well,
too.
I resonate with him, too, because he's a golfer. He does a lot about his wife and the kids and stuff. It reminds me a lot. And it seems like his wife is like a no-nonsense type of wife.
Pretty sure he's good friends with the owners of Soul Joel's up where I'm from. That area up in Pottstown.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's performed there before.
Yeah, he's
Soul Joel's. I know him.
Do you?
Yeah.
I've heard it's a great place to go catch.
I saw Nikki Glazer there out.
Oh, is that
they
where?
were doing it outside?
Oh.
He had an outside venue in Royersford.
Yes, that's where I'm from. Well, that area.
Yeah, there you go. Well, you know exactly where.
I know exactly where they were doing it. That was what, pandemic times, right?
Yeah. So I had a little powwow with Nikki behind after the show.
Yeah?
Yeah, we talked. Yeah, we had talk.
I don't know.
We had a convo.
Okay.
I know her.
Wait, didn't you shoot your shot a few years ago?
It was a feeble shot. It was like I just wanted to get her on. I had her on like before she really blew up.
Yeah, now she's big.
Yeah, I rarely get a return.
But even like Bargatze and Maniscalco, like I remember when they weren't that big. Like I remember when Maniscalco used to come. A lot of people in my family loved him because he was Italian, but it wasn't the audience he would get now. And then with Bargatze, I think I told you before, I was at a legal conference in Utah a few years ago, and he did a stand-up routine for like 20 of us. It was incredible.
Really?
There was like 20 people in the room, and he did the stand-up routine, and then he blew up.
Wait a minute. What was he doing there? Where's in Utah? What were you doing in Utah?
I was there for a legal conference.
Legal conference? And the legal conference hired him?
Yeah, they brought him in as the talent, and it wasn't that big of a legal conference, so it was pretty cool. It was like an intimate setting.
Too much money and personal injury.
Look at that. But probably his price tag probably wasn't that high back then, right?
And the year before, it probably wasn't, but the year before, they had Jimmy Eat World.
I saw them.
Yeah. So they were
recently.
there. And that was kind of a cool
these
concert.
Lawyers spending money.
Yeah, this was for
Ragazzi. You got 20 lawyers there. Like, how do you tailor an act?
I probably exaggerate when I say 20. There maybe it was like less than 100
lawyers with no sense of humor.
It was pretty funny. It was pretty good stuff. I spoke at that conference.
You did?
Yeah.
All right, let's hear the speech.
Well, I gave
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Colorado is going to talk about personal injury and how you can encourage people to slip and fall to break their legs.
Close. I did a 50-minute presentation on how to utilize technology to improve the client experience and work efficiency.
Why don't you use technology to get us some phone calls?
I'm doing other things. I'm putting up with you every day.
All right, Ray, let's go. Speaking of technology, we got our text board humming. What are the people on the text board saying? We got the Eagle topic out there. We got the Sixer topic out there. We got the Phillies topic out there. No Flyer topic today. Go ahead, Ray.
We got people now checking in with their favorite comedians, which is funny. So just the way that we can get.
What are people saying? Because I'm not as much like I like to listen to comics on Netflix radio, satellite radio. That's how I get indoctrinated with some comedians.
You see, I like watching it. I like the visual
Netflix
side.
Well, you can get the same effect. These are snippets.
Gotcha.
You don't get the whole routine, but you get the best of with snippets.
On your radio.
Yeah, on the radio. Yeah.
You see, I like watching it.
There's like 6 comedy channels.
There are a lot. There are a lot of comedy channels. I don't usually get up that high on my XM.
Oh, you don't? That's where all the sports channels are in the 80s to 90s.
I know, but I only listen to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPEN, HD1.
You have good
Burlington, Philadelphia, BZ Media Group station.
It is a BZ.
Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios.
Powering possibilities.
While we're rolling jokes, also Norm from Mayfair here. Maybe Howie got amnesia from the beer can shot to the head at the parade and can't remember how to work the deals.
I've been seeing a lot of people saying he hasn't been right since he got hit in the head with that beer can. Hey, we don't know.
Okay.
The more we learn about head injuries, Ray, it's possible.
Ryan from Frankfurt saying that he doesn't want people sleeping on Howie getting Judon and that we should calm down because they still have 8 starters left on defense. That feels like not true.
8 starters on defense. So let's count them. Nolan Smith, I guess, was a starter, right? Zach Baun, Quinyon Mitchell, Reed Blankenship, Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis. There's 6. Do you count Cooper DeJean, I guess, at the slot corner position?
7.
There's 7. Nakobe Dean, but is he healthy?
He's not. I don't think he's going to start the season healthy.
So then you can't count him. Yeah, maybe 7? 7 out of 11 or 12 because you got that nickel corner position with Cooper DeJean. See, that's what we haven't really asked either. We don't know because we don't get a chance to talk to Vic and Howie and all, but is the plan for Cooper DeJean to stay in the nickel?
Here, I got another question for you, speaking of Cooper DeJean. Britton Covey's gone. Now, I don't know if they'll bring him back at a cheaper price or whatever.
Who's returning punts?
Does that mean that Cooper DeJean is their punt returner? Or would they go somewhere else to preserve him? He's a great punt returner.
He is.
He's an asset. He knows exactly how to return punts. So would they bring Covey back at a cheaper price? Or is Cooper DeJean the guy? And are you comfortable with that? 610-632-0975. Mike Missanelli Show. I have a joke for Bill in case he addresses another legal conference that he can loosen up the people with.
All right, looking forward to this.
The Mike Missanelli Show is back after this.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles at AJ Dillon. I'm Ray Dunn. This update's brought to you by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app today. The Eagles signed former Packers running back AJ Dillon yesterday to a 1-year deal to join the running back room that lost Kenny Gainwell to free agency. The early portions of free agency have been just that for the Birds, losing a lot of players, even trading away CJ Gardner-Johnson, shedding some money there. And Adam Schefter joined Kincade and Salciunas yesterday and said that the Eagles are likely to shed more salary.
I think they're more likely to shed more salary than acquire more salary. That's how I feel right now. So you're asking if there's a trick up their sleeve. No. Again, I think they're more likely to shed more salaries, make more moves the other way than more outgoing than incoming.
Well, in terms of incoming, Adam Schefter reporting that the Eagles are signing edge Josh Uche, who was most recently with the Kansas City Chiefs this season, had a pair of sacks earlier in the year with the New England Patriots, had 11.5 back in 2022. Elsewhere, the 76ers lost 118-105 to the Raptors, and with the loss, the Sixers moved into a tie with the Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. They'll return to action on Friday night against the Pacers. Speaking of returning to action, Flyers host the Tampa Bay Lightning at 7 o'clock tonight. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update's also brought to you by Batteries Plus. At Batteries Plus, you get a key fob for up to 50% less than the dealership. Keys cut, key fobs programmed, and batteries replaced on the spot. Get a spare key today at Batteries Plus. I'm Ray Dunn on the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
It's 12:27. It is the Mike Missanelli Show. All right, so the Eagles. My position today is that they may, inside the NovaCare Center, be saying this kind of is a gap year, but don't tell anybody, really. We're going to do our best. We're going to do our best to compete. We lost a ton on defense, and maybe we can't replace it. So there are a couple things that can happen. Number one, the offense has to really carry us this year, or we're going to be like in the hunt, but we're not going to be like there's some other teams that we have to contend with that probably are going to be ahead of us a little bit. So we don't know. And it all depends on how fans feel about that. I think fans feel that Howie Roseman can just walk on water right now, and whatever he does is going to work. And they're still going to be a contender, and they're still going to have a really good chance to repeat. I don't know about that, but we'll find out. Let's go to our text board. Right, what are they saying on the text board?
They said patience in the offseason, not patience for the 2025-26 season. There's no chance they're back, saying that we got clout with the fans, so it's okay not to be as good. These fans and players aren't saying mentally, we won last year, so we got to take this year to get back there again. Did KC say that? Did the Patriots do that during the Brady era?
No, you're misinterpreting what I'm saying. Players never say that, right? The players that go out are going to compete. But the reality is, if you're not as good as you were the year before, then you're kind of crossing your fingers that you can make up the difference. What I'm saying is, Howie, deep inside, says we may not be as good as we were last year, but we have cachet. The fans aren't going to be obsessed with us winning another Super Bowl. They've gotten one. They're still celebrating. They hold us in very high regard. So whatever happens this year is not going to ever be a disappointment. We're still going to be good. Maybe we're not good enough to win the whole thing.
Maybe there's some of that, but I keep just looking at the Kansas City Chiefs as the example. So the Chiefs have won 3 Super Bowls. They've been to a bunch of them in the last few years, and they've done it different ways both times that they were there recently. You look at when they were there in 2022, they had the number 1 offense. They were 16th on defense when they beat the Eagles. They come back and they win it in 2023, and they almost have the exact opposite. They went from number 1 on offense to number 15. They went from number 16 on defense to number 2. You may see a similar thing happen with the Eagles, where they had the number 1 defense and they had the 8th-ranked offense. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe you see this defense drop and the offense picks up the slack.
You're right about that, but you got to also put in the equation that quarterback until this year and in these playoffs was Magic Man.
Well, that's
now,
the thing.
Is Jalen Hurts Magic Man? No, he's not Magic Man. He's obviously earned his stripes as one of the premier quarterbacks in the league. He ain't Magic Man.
And when you say Magic Man,
the guy that makes plays out of his ears.
And you're right. And you look at the 3 teams. There's been 3 teams to repeat as Super Bowl champs in the salary cap era. The Chiefs, obviously, they had Patrick Mahomes, Hall of Fame quarterback. The Patriots, they had Tom Brady, Hall of Fame quarterback. The 97-98 Broncos, John Elway, Hall of Fame quarterback. So that's why I think you're really going to have to lean on your quarterback this year, because in the salary cap era, you win a Super Bowl, you're going to lose players. It just so happened the Eagles lost a lot of defensive players. Now the offense is going to have to carry them this year. That's how I see it.
All right. Let me just quickly take a little diversion here, because I now become privy to Bill speaking to the room full of attorneys in a lawyer convention in Utah. Very nice. And Bill, did you use a icebreaker? Like when you first got with it? Because you used the icebreaker. Who was the guy you recently fluffballed in an interview?
Oh, Nick Nurse.
Nick Nurse. You kissed Nick Nurse's ass.
I gave him the softball.
What do you think of?
You warm him up, and then you go.
Yeah, what was your opening?
Then you take him
to
down.
Nick Nurse. What did you talk about?
Being an Iowa guy.
Oh, an Iowa guy.
Yeah, Cooper DeJean.
Cooper DeJean, Iowa guy. All right, so here's Bill trying to loosen up the audience. Bill, supposedly you're speaking to a banquet of baseball players. Like you've been invited to speak at a banquet.
Okay.
And it's a baseball banquet.
Rob Thompson's Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Well, whatever it is, right? I'm going to try this joke for an icebreaker on you. And, Ray, I want you to tell me if you think this is funny also. Here's Bill, and here's the icebreaker. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get to the context of my speech today, I just want to tell you a little joke that I heard the other day. 2 old men who both love to play baseball made an agreement that the first one of them to go would tell the other one if there was baseball in heaven. Right after one of them died, his spirit appeared before his friend and told him, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that there is baseball in heaven. The bad news is that you're pitching on Friday.
Oh, because he's going to die. Oh, ba-dum-bum. Hey. Good job, Mike.
Pretty good.
Bill didn't laugh at all.
I didn't think it was that funny. Ray?
Bill didn't get the punchline.
Was that funny?
Bill didn't get the punchline.
I cracked a grin. That's about as much as you get from me. I'm a quiet
You didn't
laugher.
get the punchline. It took you 5 seconds to get the punchline.
It did. I didn't get it at
This
first.
is the thing about you, Bill. I guarantee you were thinking of something else. I guarantee you your mind was wondering.
I was listening intently because it was such a riveting joke.
No, you weren't. You were not listening to the joke, and therefore you did not get the punchline. This is an example of sometimes now you're going to get a lot of speaking engagements. Like you got to be focused. You were not focused on that ice-breaking joke.
Do you want the YouTube's feedback on your joke?
What was the feedback?
That sucked.
It didn't suck. It was a dad joke, but it was amusing.
Mike's joke left me underwhelmed.
It's not supposed to be a crowd breaker.
I'm embarrassed for Mike. Holy moly, Mike! Did Greg write that joke?
Now, why does Greg have to catch a strain on all
It's a mildly amusing joke.
Now, 4 tomatoes are thrown at you in the chat as well. So, anyway, here. There it is. There's the photo of Bill Colarulo on stage.
How about this is it?
There he is.
That's the way you dressed?
Oh, yeah, dude.
You dressed that way at the lawyer function?
Exactly. See, I always did the opposite. Most lawyers always wore suits. You're not going to stand out that way. So I would dress a little more stylish, a little differently. I was a little younger than a lot of the speakers. So people remember you. And they remembered the tight pants. See how tight those pants are?
All right, I got another icebreaker for you. Just a little. How's everybody doing there? I just want to tell you a little ditty as we proceed here. Have you guys heard about the constipated mathematician?
No, I haven't, Mike.
He had to work it out with a pencil. Oh! How's that one?
That one was better.
Disturbing.
That one was better.
It's disturbing. I'll get feedback on that one. How's that?
I liked it.
All right.
Did you hear about the guy who fell into the lens grinding machine?
No.
Made a complete spectacle of himself. Oh! Corny dad jokes.
That's a corny dad joke. Now, was that joke better than the heaven joke?
It was shorter. Right? It was shorter. If you're going to tell a long joke, the payoff has to be worth listening. Don't you agree, Ray? If you're going to make people listen for that long, the payoff has to be worth it.
You want me to tell you one more?
I think the YouTube chat wants it.
All right. YouTube chat will have this one. Little Italian kid, little Irish kid. They're palling around. The Irish kid gets really excited. He goes, I'm getting a bicycle for Christmas. The Italian kid goes, really? How do you know that? He goes, because I was lurking around in my cellar, and I saw a sheet covering something. I took the sheet off, and it was a brand new bicycle. So I know I'm getting a bicycle for Christmas. And that Italian kid's a little put off. And he goes, yeah? Well, I'm getting a bicycle for Christmas, too. And the Irish kid goes, well, how do you know that? He goes, well, I had a conversation with my father, and I said, he goes, well, where's the bicycle? Do you have it hidden somewhere? He goes, yeah, it's in my father's pants. He goes, in your father's pants? He goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, when I said, Dad, I want a bicycle for Christmas, he said, yeah, here's your bicycle right here.
Man. Right?
I thought the math one was going to be the most disturbing of the group.
I know. You didn't even hit the drum roll for that or whatever.
It's an Italian father. Here's your bicycle right here. Come on, man.
Mike.
610.
They're getting worse.
632. That's a damn good joke, Bill.
I hope Sebastian Maniscalco's listening because maybe he could use some of these tonight.
That's a Maniscalco type of joke. Here's your bicycle right here. Mike Missanelli Show continues.
Andrew Salciunas.
They must really like Keely.
6320975. You want to get in? I want to hear your feeling on what the Eagles have done so far, free agent wise. They signed Uche and Dillon.
That's it. And they brought back Ben Van Sumeren, who came here.
They listed as a fullback.
Yeah, I was going to say, he came here as a linebacker. That's what you thought, but they used him at fullback a little last year, and they listed him as a fullback, so that's good. See,
now the Uche thing, go ahead. Tell the people what they've got.
With Mr. Uche?
Uche.
So Josh Uche was a former second-round draft pick of the New England Patriots in the 2020 NFL Draft. He played 4.5 seasons with New England before being traded in the middle of last year to the Kansas City Chiefs. Best season came in 2022. He had 11.5 sacks, but outside of that one blip on the radar, been a little underwhelming.
What was his college pedigree?
He went to Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's solid.
Yeah, he's a Michigan guy. Obviously an athlete. He's still only 26 years old. The alarming thing is the Patriots trade him away for a 6th-round pick to the Chiefs last year. He only plays 6 games, and then he doesn't even get in the playoffs. The Chiefs just shut him down. Hopefully Fangio and Roseman can see something in this guy that they can take advantage of, because you're going to need it. You need help along the edge. You got Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, and then outside of that, a whole lot of question marks. So we'll see how that works out. A.J. Dillon, still a young guy, didn't play last year because of a neck injury, but he's a big boy, and he's still young. He's still only 26 years old.
And the fan base seems to really like that A.J. Dillon signing.
I do, too. I mean, I'm not overreacting to it.
You were down on it a little bit. You weren't that overwhelmed by it.
Well, what I'm saying is you got to have your expectations have to be right. He is going to be a backup running back. You're not expecting him to carry a heavy workload, but he can be a nice change of pace back. He comes in. You're still going to have Will Shipley. I just like the idea of you talk about wearing down a defense, and then you bring in a 250-pound guy like A.J. Dillon, who we know is a good pass blocker. We know he's good in the passing game. I think it's a nice addition, and it's low risk. Same thing with Uche. These are low-risk moves, 1-year deals, low risk, high reward. The difference between A.J. Dillon and Uche is you don't necessarily need A.J. Dillon. That's a luxury position because you have Saquon and you have Will Shipley. You need more edge rusher depth. So Uche's almost like not a luxury. You need this guy to be able to play. That's kind of how I feel on that one.
All right. Bill, I want you to rank the areas of concern right now. After the Eagles have signed Uche and you see what they need so far and what they're going to have to get. Give me the areas of concern of positions on defense that you have right now, starting with the highest priority.
On defense, I would say the highest priority for me is edge rusher, for the reasons I just mentioned. Because you got Nolan Smith, who had a great season, but we've only seen it 1 year. Yeah. And then behind him, you got Jalix Hunt on the other side, who came on at the end of the season. He's going to only be 2 years removed from Houston Christian. He's only 3 years removed from playing safety at Cornell. And then outside of those guys, what do you got? And then I would say as a close second would be defensive tackle, because as good as Jalen Carter is, we know Jordan Davis isn't an every down guy, and you got to hope that Moro Ojomo, 7th-round draft pick, who really did play well last year, that he can handle a bigger workload. So I would say edge rusher number 1, defensive tackle number 2, and then I'm going safety number 3, because you don't know what you have next to Reed Blankenship if you don't bring in a veteran. And then corner number 4, because you don't know what you have opposite Quinyon Mitchell if DeJean stays in the slot.
That's fair. So you're telling me that the acquisition of Uche does not assuage your concern for edge?
No, it doesn't, because I don't even think he's a guarantee to make the team.
Okay.
I think he's a guy who's going to be a bubble guy in camp, and you got to see what you got.
All right. Let's go to the phones. We got Keith from Sharon Hill on the line. Keith, what's up? You're on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Miguel K-Pop. Long time.
Hello, Keith. How are you, buddy?
When you was on AM, brother. But hey, listen, I need I'm moving for the commissioner. I'm a knockout contestant, but I got a situation.
Uh-oh.
I got a neck situation, Mike. I'm having a procedure next week on my neck.
Oh, no. Well, wait a minute. What kind of procedure is this?
I don't know if I'm having an epidural, getting a shot in my neck.
You'll be fine. An epidural, you'll be fine. I've had a zillion of them. You'll be totally fine.
Last time I had one, I got paralyzed from the waist down.
Oh, no way! Really? Oh, that was a bad needle.
I'm terrified.
Well, now normally, listen, I'm telling you, they're usually really safe, and it'll give you relief.
Wait a minute. But you know why I'm having epidural?
Why is that?
Because over top of that, I had the dystostomy and the fusion.
That's no good. I know from spine issues. I know it's good, but even if you have to come, even if you come with a stiff neck, if your stroke is pure, you're good.
I still got the numbness and tingling going down my right arm, though, dude.
Oh well, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I wish you the best.
I mean, I got a proxy. My son can step in for me. He got the same name.
Oh, you're going to substitute your son?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know that. Is that allowed, Ray, by company rules?
We
got
won't
a pair
know.
of tickets.
They got the same name. We won't know.
I was going to say, you got a pair of tickets. Both people can play.
So if you can't play, the son will take over. No problem in there, Keith.
Okay, no problem. I'm just making sure. I ain't want to sneak out in there.
No, that'll be fine. That'll be fine. If you got a neck situation, that's fine.
I'm a disabled veteran. I'm a disabled veteran. I'm an honest dude, man.
Okay, we got it. We got you. Now, you got any thoughts on the Eagles today?
RELAX.
RELAX. Relax.
Man.
So you got no problems.
No.
All right.
Nope.
Okay.
This time last year, did anybody think we'd be Super Bowl champions right now?
No.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. I hear your point there. Exactly. So there you go, Bill. No concerns.
I would say Super Bowl champions. I mean, there were people who thought that the Eagles were going to be good. I mean, I was one of those guys. I predicted them to win 13 games. What I think that no one could have predicted, and this maybe is Keith's point, is that they'd have the number one defense. We looked at that defense and thought the Eagles are going to have to outscore a lot of people with their offense because that defense has a lot of questions. You didn't know what you had at linebacker. Nobody saw Zach Baldwin growing into Defensive Player of the Year candidate. You didn't know that Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, as excited as you were coming out of the draft, you didn't know they were going to step in as rookies and be that damn good. You didn't know Nolan Smith was going to step up and be a guy on the edge. So I agree with Keith. Maybe we need to be a little bit patient. It's just hard to imagine that you have that type of defense again, that they hit on Zach Bond. Nolan Smith stepped up. Jalix Hunt stepped up. You had two rookies in addition to Jalix Hunt in Quinyon and Cooper contribute as rookies. That's the exception, not the norm. So even though the Eagles have a lot of draft picks, the thought of them drafting guys at 32 and 64 that are going to come in here and have a major contribution to this team, whether it's tight end or on defense, that's not likely. It happened this past season, but it's not likely. So that's why, yes, relax. It's a long off season, but it's hard for them to duplicate the level of success they had, especially on defense this coming season.
I've been instructed to clarify a previous statement about knockout. One person plays. So it's either the winner plays or their guest plays.
Okay.
So that is from Promotions Extraordinaire, Brendan Petrelli. So you're still fine, Keith. Your son can play. Only one of you.
His son could step in.
Yeah.
How old's his son?
Well,
we didn't ask.
No, we don't know.
Because technically you got to be over 18, don't you?
Oh, I think he's over 18. He said he was a disabled veteran.
Oh,
So
okay.
he's got to be over 18.
So his son's got to be over 18.
Yeah. All right. 610-632-0975. On the other side, I want to discuss the most optimistic part of this defense and what could come together. Mike Missanelli Show continues. 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Eagles add A.J. Dillon. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Eagles signed former Packers running back A.J. Dillon yesterday to a one-year deal. To join the running back room that has lost Kenny Gainwell to free agency. The early portions of free agency have seen a number of Eagles depart, and even the money-shedding trade of C.J. Gardner-Johnson to Houston. Adam Schefter joined Kincade and Salciunas yesterday and said the Eagles are likely to shed more salary.
I think they're more likely to shed more salary than acquire more salary. That's how I feel right now. So you're asking if there's a trick up their sleeve. No. Again, I think they're more likely to shed more salaries, make more moves the other way than more outgoing than incoming.
Well, incoming right now, reportedly, according to Adam Schefter earlier today, is edge rusher Josh Uche, who was most recently with the Kansas City Chiefs, had a pair of sacks with the Patriots in the early portion of last season, had 11.5 sacks back in the 2022 season. Elsewhere, the 76ers lost 118-105 to the Raptors, and with the loss, the Sixers moved into a tie with the Nets for the fifth worst record in the NBA. They'll return to action on Friday night against the Pacers. And returning to action tonight, the Flyers. They host the Tampa Bay Lightning at 7 o'clock tonight. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update was brought to you by both Bradford White Water Heater White, and also brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. That feeling of owning your first Mercedes-Benz, hard to believe, but it's real. From the leather stitching to the iconic design, every element of Mercedes lives up to its reputation. See for yourself at your local dealer. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
talk about what optimistically can happen. But I want to go back to that C.J. Gardner-Johnson story that was today. He was trying to justify why he was traded, right? So Pro Football Focus grades for C.J. weren't that good. He gave up 9 touchdowns in pass coverage last year. That's that's a high total. In fact, it's the most TDs surrendered since 2012. Now, also, when you look at it, like Quinny Mitchell didn't give up a TD in his first 15 games. Dwayne Johnson has given up just 3 sacks in his last 6 seasons. So Pro Football Focus ranks Gardner-Johnson 12th among safeties who played at least 800 snaps, mainly because he, quote, didn't support the run well, tackled poorly, and almost never was asked to blitz. So they paint him out as kind of a one-trick pony, Bill. Did we know all this stuff about C.J. Gardner-Johnson?
Yeah, but what you get from Gardner-Johnson, well, one, the things that you can't track statistically is that attitude that he brings. We knew that. We knew the chip on his shoulder that he brought to that defense can't be quantified with stats. But he's also kind of a ball hawk in getting turnovers and getting interceptions. So, like, I'm looking at some of his PFF grades, and first of all, Pro Football Focus is not the Bible when it comes to grading players. I've seen, like, I've watched games with my own eyes, and a guy you thought had a terrible game, they give him a high score or vice versa. So, I don't know. I'm looking at it. For 2024, they gave him an overall grade of 77.7. That seems okay to me. You're saying, what did they say that was? Let me look.
12th.
I'm looking at the defensive grades for safety.
12th among safeties who play at least 800 snaps.
That played among 800 snaps.
Yeah, at least.
It's a lot of snaps.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I'm looking here. So, for players who play
50 snap, what is that? 40 snaps a game?
Yeah, they got him even less than that. Yeah, I got him at 11th. You said, what did you say, 12th?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what I'm looking at is they got him 11th in terms of overall. And then when you go to coverage, he's even higher though. When you look at his coverage grade, they got him number 5 on Pro Football Focus if you've played 80% of the snaps. So I don't know. I mean, you got to take it with a grain of salt. Did he give up a lot of touchdowns? It's hard, I think, sometimes when you look at the safety position because you don't always know what the coverage was. You don't know if the corner missed an assignment. So no matter how we slice it, and I know what Marcus Hayes is trying to do here, it's a big loss.
What's he trying to do?
I'm saying he's trying to downplay the loss, saying that there's a reason they moved on from him, check the touchdowns.
All right.
But I think it's a big loss no matter how you look at it.
You're listening to the Mike Missanelli Show. 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, Beasley Media Group Station. And we broadcast live every day from the Comcast Business Studios, empowering possibilities. All right, let's look at the most optimistic thing that could happen for the Eagles defensively, even though they've had some attrition, and so far they really haven't lit it up as far as replacing. Let's start with the safety position and C.J. Gardner-Johnson, since we just talked about it. Sidney Brown comes back in a big way to be a killer in the secondary. Are you feeling that?
Assuming they don't add any pieces, because we know they were in on the Justin Reed before he signed with New Orleans. So assuming they don't add any pieces, they clearly like Sidney Brown coming out of Illinois when they drafted him. He had the red star. You remember they talked about the red star that they only give to some of their draft prospects. So he certainly has the capability of growing into a starting role. I think he has to lower down. You know, you can't play at 100 miles an hour all the time, but he's got a lot of skills. He's obviously an athlete. He wasn't 100% healthy to start the season last year. So, sure, you could be optimistic and say Sidney Brown could be the guy. Now, one of the major questions I have, though, why was Tristan McCullum the first guy off the bench when Reed or CJ went down and not Sidney Brown? And maybe it was just because Fangio didn't feel comfortable with him because he wasn't ready to start the year. But sure, if we're being Mr. Optimistic today, Sidney Brown grows into a good starting safety.
These are things that probably have to happen as well. So the most optimistic things are the things that have to happen for them to be a really good defense. Let's move on to the cornerback position. Either Keely Ringo is ready to be a starter or Darius Slay comes back for a 1 year to give him a little more stability. That's the most optimistic thing.
He signed in Pittsburgh officially.
Slay did?
Officially.
He's done. He's out. Slay's gone. Now, Keely Ringo now steps into the void. Well, I don't feel good about this, but since we're talking the most optimistic thing, he's got to be the starter alongside Quinion Mitchell. Your thoughts?
So, again, same question about Sidney Brown not being the first guy off the bench. Keely Ringo wasn't the first guy off the bench. When Slay got hurt, they brought in Isaiah Rodgers, but they let Rodgers sign with Minnesota. But with all that being said, this past offseason, before the draft, before they drafted Quinion and Cooper DeJean, I was very high on Keely. Like, I think Keely Ringo, they clearly liked him. If you remember, they traded a third-round draft pick to move up in the fourth round to draft Keely Ringo, who was extremely young coming out of Georgia. He's still only 22 years old. You look at his measurables. He's big. He's fast. He's got good ball skills. Hopefully, 2 years now in the NFL, this kid has grown into a good corner. And I think it was Andrew DiCecco talked about that Christian Parker's very high on him, the secondary coach. I'm expecting a big year from Keely. I think Keely Ringo is going to win that starting job and have a good season. So that is Mr. Optimistic, and I agree with you.
All right, so you're Mr. Optimistic on both. I am not optimistic on either. All right, but since we're playing this little game, let's move on to what I think the most optimistic you could possibly be that would benefit the Eagles is that Josh Huff can play.
Bryce Huff. Josh Huff is
Josh Huff, Mr. Ben Franklin Bridge.
Yes.
Yes. Bryce Huff can actually play.
Yeah, if you could get something out of Bryce Huff. Well, look, you got to also be optimistic that the Jalix Hunt you saw down the stretch and in the Super Bowl, you're going to have an even bigger year from Jalix Hunt because third-round rookie out of Houston Christian that everybody thought was going to be a redshirt actually turns out to be a contributor on this team and looks like he's got a lot of skills as a pass rusher. So if we're getting super optimistic, Jalix Hunt is close to a double-digit sack guy. Bryce Huff, you get what the Jets got, a situational pass rusher who can be a double-digit sack guy because he's only 2 years removed from having 10 sacks with the New York Jets. So there is optimism. It's just, is it likely that Huff turns into the guy you thought you were getting, that Jalix Hunt can be a 17-game contributor who's a starter on the edge, being only his second season? Can Nolan Smith elevate his game another level? It's all possible. If we're being Mr. Optimistic, it's possible. I still think you need more. Like Uche has to either add that depth or maybe you draft an edge rusher who can contribute a little bit as a rookie, but you need a little bit more at the edge.
Okay. And here we go. Let's go with the linebacker situation because this is still unsettled. So the most optimistic thing that I could hope for at linebacker, and we haven't really talked about this, Nakobe Dean comes back from that injury and plays as well as he played last year. To me, that's very important.
It is important, but even if he comes back from that injury, how confident are we that he makes it 17 games? Because they anointed him as the starter 2 years ago. He lasted 5 games. Last year, he plays 15 and then gets hurt again. I love Nakobe Dean. I love the leadership he brings. I love the way he plays the position. But he's a little undersized, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So you need him, 1, to stay healthy. You need him, 1, to get healthy. Then 2, stay healthy. And then maybe you're okay with Bond and Dean. If not, Axeman Jr.? Is he the next man up?
If you're going to stay optimistic, he becomes a good backup who you can rely on to play.
Who may need to be ready to start the year if Dean's not.
Yes.
And outside of that, they have nothing.
So when you put it all together, can you actually tell me, are you on the side of you are more than 50% on the optimistic side or less than 50%?
You missed one more position.
What did I miss?
Can Maro Ajomo become what Milton Williams was, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, and that's probably the most likely of all of them.
Okay. So all of those, go extend it to the most optimistic you can be. Do you come out more than 50% optimistic?
I would say no. I probably would lean more towards the pessimistic side only because you're asking a lot of things to hit. Like when we're being Mr. Optimism, you need Sidney Brown, you need Keely Ringo, you need Nakobe Dean / Jeremiah Trotter, Maro Ajomo, you need Bryce Huff. You're asking a lot of guys to step up and be what you had last season. So Doesn't mean they can't compete.
All right.
I just don't think they're a number one.
That's my
defense.
question to the fans. The optimism factor on the defense being rebuilt. Are you more than 50% optimistic? Are you at 50%? Or are you less than 50%? Also, some news from the Phillies. Jimmy Rollins has been just announced he's going on the Wall of Fame.
Nice.
Well, that's a no-brainer.
Cooper Flag news too, Mike.
What? Oh, you do have the Cooper Flag news? Oh, did he get hurt?
Hurt.
Oh, no.
In a wheelchair leaving the game.
Oh, my God. We'll talk about that on the other side. Mike Missanelli Show continues.
Tyrone Johnson.
There's no reason to panic, but we've
saw that out there.
Things are awesome, man. Philadelphia sports-oriented watercolor portraits, sort of in poster form. Perry Milou, his name is Milou, at perrymilou.com. Those things are amazing.
Incredible. And
he's got a gallery out there in Lambertville.
Yeah, and I'm just assuming that mine and Ray is probably a little delayed in the mail. What do you think, Ray? Just didn't get here yet?
Well, I actually...
I would say no.
I left them here so they can hang them up.
It is beautiful. Wait, he's in Lambertville? I love Lambertville.
Yeah, it's a beautiful little hamlet.
Yeah, nice little town.
They're suitable for framing. We should have those hanging around this studio. When we get the whole, Reformation, we should have it restyled, the whole studio restyled with actual sports portraits, don't you think?
Have you ever brought anything to get framed?
Yeah.
You know how expensive it is to frame stuff?
It's very expensive.
So I made the mistake a few years back. I bought this beautiful, lion picture. I like lions.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful lion picture. And I brought it to one of those stores.
Michael's?
Yeah. I wasn't going to name him. And I brought it in, and the guy was, really helpful behind the counter. And he's like, oh, we could do this and that. And he's showing me the different talent. I'm like, oh, this is great. This is phenomenal. I'm like, yeah. I was, so excited. Yeah. And he quotes me. It was like $800 and something. I'm like, I paid $19.99 for the print.
$800.
It was like $800 because it was a huge print.
Well, because they put the inlet in.
Yeah, it was like $800. I'm like, nah.
We double inlet it or whatever they call it.
Can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
Frames are expensive.
They are. But, Mike, real quick, I showed you the replay during the break. Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, he turned his ankle, looks like landing, coming down.
Turned his ankle, and then they show him in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Leaving the game.
Yeah. I think that's a little bit of an overreaction to wheelchair. I think he'll miss the rest of the ACC tournament.
Does he make it back for the big tournament?
Wow, that's the key. If he doesn't, they're done. And if he does, they can win it. Duke can win the whole thing.
Any chance ankle injury makes him fall down the draft board?
No.
Sixers get him at 6. What do you think, Ray?
It's a sprained ankle. It's not a torn ligament.
I would say no.
Yeah, if he turned his ankle, how many times have you done that? Where you turn that ankle and you get the bad sprain? You land on it wrong.
I am very happy that all the years I played football, all the years I played ice hockey, the only injury I've ever had was a sprained AC joint. I separated my shoulder. That was it.
That was it.
Ankles were fine, legs were fine.
You never ever had a sprained ankle by turning it?
Nope.
That's you never played basketball ever.
Yeah.
That happened to me playing basketball.
Yeah, basketball is where you do it.
Yeah, never sprained an ankle. I mean, you get sprained ankles in football, too, all the time.
Yeah, but you're landing on turf, on earth. So it cushions the blow.
But it's when you're getting wrapped up by a guy or somebody steps on your ankle.
Yeah.
I think I was just fortunate enough.
Well, you're on hardwood. There's a chance when you're jumping in the air, you're off balance, you land wrong. Boom. Happens. Especially a guy like me who had 42-inch vertical. When I got way up there, I had to worry, oh, my God, I got to land. I'm way up there, and I got to land, Bill.
Yeah, I could see that.
My vertical was I jumped over a Saturday Daily News. That's how high my vertical was.
Well, I'm going to see it. I'm looking forward to knockout because I want to see that shot. I want to see that stroke.
The stroke is pure. Now, because I haven't shot in several years, it's probably going to be off.
See, you see what he's doing? He's already hedging his bet.
Just a reality.
I laying the groundwork here.
He's lowering expectations. Under promise, over deliver.
I'll make jump shots all day.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah.
Look, I'm pulling for you until you're up against me.
Yeah, I might not participate, though. Again, it's what's the point?
You see this? You see what he's doing?
I'd rather focus all my energies on emceeing the event.
Well, just make sure that you are Colorado makes another one. That's what I want. By the way, you mentioned Jimmy Rollins. You didn't mention the other guy who's going on the Wall of Fame.
Who is?
Ed Wade.
Wow.
Former VP and GM.
It's a little underwhelming, to be honest with you.
So, Ed Wade, I got a little bias for. So when I played,
he's an author now.
Is he?
Yeah.
When I played ice hockey at Eustis, his son was on our team.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Little Wade?
Yeah, Ryan Wade, his name was. But his
did you call him Wadey?
No. What? But Ed Wade was always at our games and stuff. He was always around.
Yeah. So he was the GM when Ryan Wade was playing?
He was. His daughter went to Eustis too, so we would see Ed a lot.
Look at that.
Look, Ed actually
a good guy.
He did a good job for the Phillies.
He's a really good guy too.
But I mean, really, you look at a lot of the young homegrown talent that won the 08 World Series. Ed Wade played a big part in that.
Yes.
Doesn't get the credit though. But now it looks like he is.
He tutored Ruben Amaro, by the way. That's his mentor.
Rubes.
Ruben's mentor was Ed Wade. He became the general manager. Ruben rose through all the ranks to become a general manager in this game.
He was the first base coach for a little while too, wasn't he?
No, that was later. He was the first base coach for the Red Sox.
Never here?
No.
Can't remember.
No, he was an executive here.
I know he was an executive. I thought he was a coach here too, but
No, he wasn't a coach here. Ruben and I had a famous yelling match on the field once.
what was that over?
It was over the trading of Cliff Lee. He had traded Cliff Lee.
Yeah.
After they had acquired, they thought like Lee was going to be part of the super staff. They ended up trading him to Seattle for 3 prospects. And you remember who the prospects were, Ray?
One was Tyson Gillies.
Tyson Gillies, who was deaf.
Yes.
He was an outfielder who was deaf.
Correct.
The other one was, who the hell else did they get in that deal? It was a pitcher, I thought.
I think there was a pitcher involved.
Yeah.
They got right-handed pitcher Philippe Aumont.
That's right, Philippe Aumont, Frenchie. They used to call him Frenchie.
And J.C. Ramirez, along with Tyson Gillies.
Yeah, and neither pitcher did anything. Neither did Tyson Gillies. So it was a total waste.
I watched Tyson Gillies in an independent league game back in 2019.
Is that right?
He was playing for the playing against the New Jersey Jackals.
Ah, that poor guy was still trying to make it, huh? Mm-hmm. That's a shame. In any event, he was a big prospect with Seattle. That's who they got. So we had Cliff Lee on the air after that happened. Cliff Lee says on the air that he was lied to. That Ruben told him that he would not be traded, and then like hours later he was traded. So he had a beef. He heard the beef on the radio. Well, I show up at the ballpark the next day. I would go on the field for BP. Here, Ruben coming at me like a hornet.
Oh, he was mad at you?
He's mad at me.
What'd you do?
He said, listen, I heard what you said. I go, excuse me? He said, listen, you can criticize me. You call me a liar, he said. I go, I didn't do anything of the sort. He goes, you can call me a bad general manager, but you can't call me a liar. I go, did you listen to the actual interview? He goes, no. But people told me. I go, it was your own damn player that called you a liar. And I'm screaming at him. He's screaming at me on the field. Sometimes, Bill, you bump heads.
I still can't forgive Cliff Lee, though, for that 09 World Series.
Came up small against the Cardinals.
Yankees,
oh.
Right? Didn't he, Ray?
Yeah, he did. He had the lead.
Didn't they give
he
him
had
a
the
lead?
4-0 lead against the Cardinals.
Yeah, it was
in
the
11.
Cardinals. He had the lead.
But didn't he pitch poorly against the Yankees, too?
I don't know about that. In 09?
Or maybe he pitched well.
You're
I got to
thinking
go back and
Hamels
remember.
in 09. Hamels had the terrible season
Yeah,
in
you're
09,
right.
and he's like, I just want this to be over.
Cliff Lee was when he came back in 2011.
Cliff Lee had a lead against the Cardinals and blew it.
4-0 lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was when he came back for the second stint.
610-632-0975. Mike Missanelli Show continues.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Eagles add A.J. Dillon. I'm Ray Dunn with this Fanatic Sports Update. The Eagles signed former Packers running back A.J. Dillon yesterday to a 1-year deal to join a running back room that lost Kenny Gainwell to free agency, and that's been the story for the Birds in free agency, losing a number of players from the Super Bowl winning roster and even shedding the salary of C.J. Gardner-Johnson in a trade with Houston. Adam Schefter joined Kincade and Salciunas yesterday and said the Eagles are likely to shed more salary.
I think they're more likely to shed more salary than acquire more salary. That's how I feel right now. So you're asking if there's a trick up their sleeve. No. Again, I think they're more likely to shed more salaries, make more moves the other way than more outgoing than incoming.
Incoming for the Eagles is edge rusher Josh Ushue, according to Adam Schefter this morning, that the Eagles signed Ushue to a 1-year deal, most recently with the Kansas City Chiefs. Also had 2 sacks with the Patriots at the beginning of last season. Elsewhere, the 76ers lost 118-105 to the Raptors, and with the loss, the Sixers moved into a tie with the Nets for the 5th worst record in the NBA. They'll return to action on Friday night against the Pacers. Flyers back in action tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning at 7 o'clock. You can hear the game right here on 97.5 The Fanatic. This update's brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know you could save money on car insurance by checking Allstate first. So what are you waiting for? Check Allstate first for a quote today. You're in good hands with Allstate. I'm Ray Dunn, the home of the 76ers and the Flyers. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
John Kincade, Andrew Salciunas, and
26, Mike Missanelli Show, 97.5 The Fanatic. I am really intrigued by Jimmy Rollins. Why he will never get a sniff of the Hall of Fame. I don't quite get it. And I know, it's really funny. He's got Hall of Fame caliber numbers, and the people, the Philadelphia Philly fans, I don't think are ever behind that. And I just don't understand why not. I always compare them. They go, well, he's not a Hall of Famer. And I go, really? I go, is Ozzie Smith a Hall of Famer? Absolutely. And I go, okay, let me look at the numbers here. I love to go through this every now and then, right? Ozzie Smith in his career, I think he played more years than Jimmy, if I'm not mistaken. I think he had a longer career than Jimmy. But in any event, he finished with 2,460 hits. Jimmy, 2,455 hits. 5 fewer hits than Ozzie Smith. Now let's move on to the batting average. Ozzie, 262. Jimmy, 264. Home runs, Ozzie, 28. Jimmy, 231. Runs batted in, Ozzie, 793. Jimmy, 936. Strikeouts, well, Jimmy's got them there. 1,264 strikeouts for Jimmy, 589 for Ozzie. So almost double. Stolen bases, Ozzie, 580. That's 90 more than Jimmy's 470. And here is the key. Fielding percentage. Like the Wizard of Oz, right? The greatest fielder ever. Guess whose fielding percentage is higher?
Only because you wouldn't expect it, I'm going Jimmy.
Jimmy at 983 to Ozzie's 978. Now, you tell me why Jimmy Rollins would not be in the Hall of Fame and Ozzie Smith is.
I remember when we had this discussion previously when they announced who was getting in. You asked the same question, and I had the immediate knee-jerk reaction like most people would be, oh, well, Ozzie, of course. But once you look at the numbers, you make a pretty damn good argument.
I don't understand how he's not even going to get a sniff of the Hall of Fame, Jimmy. And I go, how is it possible? With the shortstops that are in the Hall of Fame, if you compare his numbers to the shortstop in the Hall of Fame, how is he not more considered?
Now, when you gave the fielding percentage and all that, I mean, I've always, and Ray, you probably have heard the same thing growing up, that Ozzie Smith is one of the greatest defensive players of all time in Major League Baseball. I mean, I heard that forever. So, I mean, when you look at the numbers, are they skewing it? I mean, can the numbers be relied upon?
Here's what people tell you. Well, Ozzie got them more, but Ozzie had better range. Okay, let's go with the chances. Ozzie Smith, first of all, played 2 more years than Jimmy Rollins.
Correct. I think he played 19 seasons.
Yeah, and Jimmy played 17.
Yeah.
Ozzie Smith had 12,905 chances. Jimmy had 9,275. So if you're going to measure it on like a matter of 300 chances, and that's how you're going to justify Jimmy's fielding percentage being higher, which indicates that Ozzie had more range. I don't know how you could do that if the fielding percentage is 983 and Ozzie's is 978.
Yeah. So how is he?
It's not that big enough. Like that's the only edge that he would have in being in Hall. Ozzie's a lock Hall of Fame. But what even a question? Jimmy Rollins, people go, I don't know if he's Hall of Fame. Like, I go, really? He's getting hosed.
How many Gold Gloves Jimmy have?
Gold Gloves. Let's see. First of all, Jimmy was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-time All-Star.
All right, Ozzie was 15-time.
3-time. No, 4-time. All right, 4-time. He was
Ozzie
a 4-time All-Star.
15-time All-Star.
Okay.
Ozzie had 13 Gold Gloves.
Okay.
How many did Jimmy Rollins have?
All right, Jimmy had 2. 3.
4.
4 Gold Gloves?
So Jimmy was a 3-time All-Star, 4-time Gold Glove, and an MVP.
All right, but you're talking about, like, Ozzie was an automatic Gold Glove. Like, there was no other competition. Ozzie was going to, nobody was going to ever beat Ozzie. Well, I'm putting the statistics side by side. My point is, even if you don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame, he doesn't even get a sniff of mention for the Hall of Fame.
Maybe if he did backflips.
Well, I mean, does that have something to do with it?
Oh, he had that. The backflips and the cartwheels were pretty cool.
Nobody makes the case that he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Not even Philly fans. Philly fans don't even make the case.
Well, that's because Philly fans are more focused on is Chase going to get it. Don't you think?
Yeah, but he also, like, Jimmy frustrated people because he would never hit the ball on the ground. People a lot of balls in the air, and people would get, they would groan, and sometimes he didn't run it out the whole bit. But God, dude, numbers are numbers.
Yeah, that
that
MVP year was impressive.
He has better numbers than Ozzie Smith in almost every category.
It's an interesting question.
Well, whatever. He's going to get on the Phillies Wall of Fame.
Well, he's getting on the Phillies Wall of Fame.
That'll have to do.
With Ed Wade.
All right. Let's go back to the text board. What do you got, Ray? Any text?
Yeah, we do. We have text.
Yeah, we got.
People checking in on a number of different Eagles conversations that we've had so far today about the frustration so far. Someone saying this is reminiscent of the 2023 offseason where there was no big fish to bring in.
All right. Okay, I got that. But they also don't have any money to bring in big fish, which is like part of what's going on right now. They're trying to stick some puzzle pieces together here that are going to cost less money.
Yeah, it's exactly what they're trying to do, but that is similar to what they did in 2023. Because when they lost all those pieces in 2023, now they did bring back James Bradbury that year. They did bring back Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, all decided to come back on one-year deals. But other than those guys, if you look at the 2023, almost every move they made was taking a flyer on one-year players. They picked up Rashad Penny. They picked up Greedy Williams, Justin Evans, Nick Morrow, Terrell Edmonds, who was a starter in Pittsburgh, Contavious Street. Like, everybody that they signed, Zach Cunningham, they were all these one-year, low-risk, high-reward moves. The problem was they got no rewards. None of them resulted in anything.
Yeah.
This year, the one-year deals, Zach Bond worked out pretty damn good. Mekhi Becton worked out pretty damn good. So you just don't know. That's why when people say, oh, Howie's got this, it's impossible for all of his moves to hit. You only have to go back one offseason to see none of his moves hit. None on those one-year deals from a couple years ago. So it'll be interesting.
All right. Is Dr. Mad Elf still with us?
Yes, he is.
Dr. Mad Elf on the line.
Wait, has he been holding this whole time?
He's been holding for a while. Greg in Bethlehem joins us. What's up, Greg?
Hey, I wasn't sure if you were taking calls or not.
No, we're sorry. We got a little diverted on Convo.
Yeah, I've cumulatively been on hold about 2 hours. But anyway.
What have you been doing to pass the time, Greg?
Well, I'm into my second Mad Elf.
Right on brand.
So I'm primed. How come Bryson Stott's not driving a Kia?
Oh, I'm sorry, what?
How come Bryson Stott's not driving a Kia?
Well, we can't talk about that. We're prohibited.
What he's talking about because you have the Kia.
Yeah, I have the Kia.
Yeah, but
I got you.
It's a win-win. You could either go to Gateway or you can go to Barlow.
That's correct.
Very good. Very good. Hey, I'm looking at the Eagles' situation and keeping it in perspective, I feel more confident this year at this point in time than I did last year at this point in time. I thought there were more uncertainties, especially with the offense, but also the defense. I mean, last year we had a lot of questions, I thought, and this year I think the offense is pretty solid, and, there's holes in the defense that have to be filled, but I don't know. Overall, I feel better about this year than last year.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, come on, man. I don't know how you can do that. How could you feel better about this year than last year? You don't even know how this is going to end up on defense.
Well, you didn't know last year either, and you had a lot of guys that hadn't played before.
Well, but then you knew. So when you didn't know, you knew. So you have that performance that has to resonate with you. Now, we're back in the same situation. You don't know about this team. Maybe it could turn out to be the same, but at this particular point, you can't say it.
No, but I think you can. I mean, I'm just looking at what my perspective was last year at this time versus this year at this time. and I feel better. You know, you can't say.
Well, you're saying it will carry over, though. Like it's not going to. What's going to carry over? Talent carries over. Right now, they're a little bereft of talent.
Well, on the offense, it's pretty solid, and the defense. I mean, I thought there were questions on both sides of the ball last year, and I think this year, we have defensive questions, but not so much on the offense.
Yeah, no, I get that. The offense should be solid. I get it, but again, they were the number one defense in the league last year, and you can't sneeze at that. That's really important.
Well, I didn't know that this time last year, though. That's the point.
I know, but we're going around in circles here. You didn't know it at the start of last year, but they performed. So you had that performance on the record. And then you can go, okay, well, now there's going to be a drop-off because that performance was such that it was the number one defense in the league. That now you can't rank them number one.
No, I was just comparing my own perspective at this time last year versus this year.
I totally get it. I understand. I know that was mad elfish, that call.
Yeah, I mean,
it was quite a little mad elfish.
I understand to a point about the defense this time last year. I would say my concerns were probably equal to what they are now.
But then they became a known quantity. Once they become a known quantity, you can't say you feel just as good this year.
No, and then because then you're ripped apart a lot of their talent. But his one point about he feels better about the offense this year than he did last year.
Yeah, I don't know why he would feel better. They were good.
Yeah, and last year, I mean, look, you have pretty much the same personnel, almost identical from what you had going into last year. Last year, you had an experienced, proven offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore. Now, I'm excited to see what Kevin Patullo could do, but that's a big unknown.
And the other thing is, like, if you're thinking the offense is better, you're thinking Jalen Hurts is going to be more dynamic as a thrower, and that could happen. 610-622-0975. We're coming down the home stretch. Mike Missanelli Show today. Back after this.
Thursday, March 13th.
It's 1:42 on the Mike Missanelli Show as we come roaring down the backstretch to the home stretch. You know, there's an astronomical phenomenon tonight.
What's that?
You know that? There's an eclipse tonight?
I did not know
It's
that.
a solar lunar eclipse where you'll see complete red on the moon.
Did not know that.
Night sky tonight, I believe, into Friday. It'll be visible in North and South America, parts of Europe and Africa.
Okay.
Total red action. I think you can look at this one.
Well,
right?
yeah, we don't have to worry because last summer
this is a lunar eclipse, not a solar eclipse.
Yeah, last summer you had to be careful when they did that whole thing.
So this is the moon goes in front of the behind the sun. What? Ray? Ray, help me out here.
Yeah, come on, Ray.
It's not
astronomical phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly.
What is the lunar eclipse?
It's a phenomenon.
The lunar means moon.
That's good.
The moon is involved somehow, Bill.
Yeah, there we go.
Did you know that the moon?
Did you know that the moon controls the waves?
Yeah, the tides.
Thank you. Second grade was fun for me too, Bill.
Bill, all of a sudden, he's the Prince of Tides.
The Prince of Tides. Yo, and that's another thing. This is kind of unrelated, but did you see Philly? This was in the Inquirer today. Added 10,500 residents last year.
Yeah. Moving in.
Yeah.
Moving in.
Philly's growing.
Not moving out to the
All
east
right.
side.
Here's what we got for this lunar eclipse.
All right, what do you
The
got?
lunar eclipse is when the moon moves into the Earth's shadow, causing the moon to be darkened. That doesn't make any sense with what we've just been
The moon is darkened, but it's a darkened red.
Yes, allegedly.
Alleged.
Alleged.
All right.
I don't know. Oh, here we go. It takes on a reddish color that is caused by the planet when it completely blocks direct sunlight from reaching the moon's surface, as the only light that is reflected from the lunar surface is what has been refracted by the Earth's atmosphere.
Wow.
Wow.
There you go.
And that's tonight.
So we'll look at it and see a lot of people go, oh, that's Mars. It's the red planet, right? But it's actually just the moon and the sun reflection. By the way, how do you feel about Mars, Bill?
I feel pretty strongly about it.
No, I mean,
I'm disappointed we haven't gotten there yet. Huh?
why is it? Can I ask a question? Maybe I don't understand it. What is all this fuss about finding out if there's life on Mars or getting to Mars or building condos on? Like, why? Why do we waste our time with that?
It's a good question.
I don't know. Are we going to outgrow this planet? We need another planet to put residents on? Like, what is the point? Is there life? They've been trying to figure out if there's life on Mars for how many years?
Seems like
Do we care
forever.
that there's life on Mars? Why would we care?
It's expensive property here.
isn't
You know,
it
you want to be able to
possible-
buy
let me
land
say,
somewhere else.
You can get land cheap now, Bray, if you want to buy it.
Oh, can you?
Yeah. So let me ask you this: isn't it possible that we're the only planet that has life?
possible, but unlikely.
So the life on other planets, so wouldn't be life as we know it.
You would think, yes. You would think it would
wouldn't
be
be
different.
in human form.
No,
well, why would we care? Like, if there's life on Mars and it's just like organisms, we're not going to want to be there anyway. Like, the only only way we want to be there is there's human life form, no?
But I guess if there was something that happened to this planet, you would be able to escape to Mars. I guess that's the...
What?
Who would escape to Mars?
What's going to happen? Wait, what do
Those
you mean
wealthy
what
enough
happens to
to
the
get
planet?
there.
The planet blows up?
Who knows, man?
If the planet blows up, we can't get to Mars anyway. We're dead.
Well, maybe you would know. Like, what if this is like a...
Well, we get a warning?
Like an Armageddon type situation where...
Like the
there's
Branch Davidians?
There's a huge meteor, and there's nothing they could do because you can't train oil riggers to be astronauts in 2 weeks. Dumbest plot ever. by the way.
Who went on the spaceship? What cult? What was the cult?
It wasn't. It wasn't a spaceship. They all.
What was it?
They all committed suicide in hoping they could get on the comet. Right?
Oh, was the
Wasn't
comet?
that what it was?
What was it?
Is it Halley's comet?
No, it was. No, I think it was some kind of vessel, wasn't it?
Hold on, I'm
I
looking.
don't know. What was the cult?
Heaven's Gate.
Heaven's Gate cult?
Yeah, it was the Heaven's
All
Gate.
right, now what did they do?
They all committed suicide in an attempt to get on.
On what? What kind of vessel to get them out of here?
I'm trying to remember what the comet was. I'm looking this up here.
was a comet.
Hale-Bopp.
The Hale-Bopp comet?
Yes, you remember that?
Yeah.
In 1997.
That's
Whoa,
right.
we're almost March 26th, 1997.
You got their anniversary party?
Remember they all killed themselves. They were wearing brand new Nikes. Do you remember that?
No.
Yeah, I do remember it.
Yeah, they all had on brand new
I
Nikes.
wasn't alive when this happened.
Thought they were trying to board a spaceship, but it was a
Is this a
comet.
movie? Is this a real thing?
It's a real thing.
Oh, I thought this was a movie we were talking about the whole time.
In the collection of cults that we've had here, including the Jamestown, the Branch Davidians, Waco, this is right in there.
The Jamestown one is very disturbing.
Yeah, it is. But this one was the weirdest one.
So there was a comet that went by, and they were
trying to hop it.
They thought that if they committed suicide, that they would be able to get on the comet.
Oh, and this was a real life thing. I didn't know this was real life.
But we're back to the planet discussion. Can you explain it to me?
I cannot.
All right. Do you care that there's life on Mars? Is there life on Mars?
I've always been intrigued by outer space and what else could be
I got
out
no
there.
intrigue at all because I got enough problems worrying about this planet.
Yeah, I guess
you know what I'm
you're
saying? Like you got to negotiate your way through life here.
It does, though, when you really take a step back and look at like the universe and all that, how small we are, how insignificant
we are. We are insignificant pieces of dust, which what I would expect to be on Mars, like little organisms of dust. And then, so you build a condo, and your windows are always dirty.
We're getting killed in the chat too because I think you said Jamestown and it was Jonestown.
Sorry, Jonestown.
Yeah,
Jamestown was the colony of the Pilgrims.
Yeah,
it couldn't get more opposite.
A little bit different than Jonestown.
Exactly.
But that's where the drinking the Kool-Aid comes from, Ray. The Jonestown cult, because they drank Kool-Aid literally that had cyanide in it that killed them. Did you know that?
No. I'm not, I guess, a big cult guy.
Well, there's many documentaries on it. Like
it's disturbing what happened.
Yeah,
in Jonestown.
it's totally disturbing.
Yeah, and then there's the Branch Davidians, which was Waco.
Yeah,
a lot of disturbing cults.
All right.
So Mars, you think there's life or not? 610-636-7975.
Since we're talking about,
I don't even know how I got on that.
I don't know either.
But
we're talking about space.
The
what
lunar
about cap
eclipse.
space,
I'm thinking of the Bowie song now. Is there life on Mars?
As we're talking about weird things, if you were a collector of sports memorabilia, would you have any interest in this weird item that just hit auction? It's a letter from 2009 to Marshawn Lynch telling him he failed his drug test for marijuana. Would you have any interest in collecting?
No, I don't have any interest in memorabilia at all, but I know there are people that are interested in stuff like that. So
but
I don't put them down.
Where would that? Why? What do you want a failed drug test letter?
A collector's item.
How? How is that a collector's item?
It's determined by what's of value is determined by the seller and the buyer.
I'm looking forward to seeing how much this sells for. Like what someone's going to pay for a failed drug test.
I'm already occupied with my card collection, which I'm going to bring into you. Maybe I'll bring it in tomorrow, so you can determine yourself what the value is.
I have no idea.
All right, let's get a text for one last text before we get out of here today. Ray, give me something on Mars.
Oh, I got nothing on Mars, but I got a thing on the Phillies. Didn't just another Philly team collapse the year before and win a championship the very next season? No reason not to be optimistic. We're contenders. Have been the last 3 seasons. What makes this season different? Until they show me otherwise, we ride for Red October.
You're talking about the Phillies?
That's what he said.
We ride for Red October with the Phillies?
That's what he said.
Oh, okay, he's reflecting off the lack of optimism, according to that story that was in The Athletic, that the Phillies fan base is only 10th in the league as far as optimism, as far as them winning something.
Yeah, but here's the difference, because I think he's using the Eagles' collapse and rebound to win a Super Bowl as an example. Major difference. The Eagles made drastic changes from the 2023 collapse to last season. They got a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator. They had a new linebacker. They signed new defensive linemen. They had a safety that they added. They drafted 2 cornerbacks. They added Saquon Barkley. They brought in a new guard. Like, what have the Phillies done? Like, I am optimistic, but what have the Phillies done?
You are a man who really likes change. You like to mix it up. You don't believe that running it back is beneficial.
No, but when I say what have the Phillies done, I don't think that they've upgraded the lineup at all. Well, but maybe they didn't have to.
No, that's what I'm saying. They're good. I mean, there's a difference between running back something that's not good and running something back that's good. They're good. They just lost. Like they lost. Did they lose because they weren't good? No, they lost because they didn't hit.
But I do think, and I admitted this a couple of weeks ago, I do think as a fan base, some are underestimating what Luzardo and Romano may mean for this team. Because you've added a true, which I called him a fifth starter, and Ray got offended by it because he thinks Luzardo's not even a fifth starter. He thinks he's going to be in the top 4, right?
Yeah.
So what is your point here with the Phillies?
I'm saying that even though it feels like they didn't do much, the fact that they added to their rotation they added a true closer, this could be a really good team.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great rest of the night. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Fanatic Sports Update.
The Eagles add A.J. Dillon. I'm Ray Dunn. This update's brought to you by Tullamore Dew Irish Whiskey, the original triple.